work its way out, and it also learns a little bit of your patterns as well. So if you hide in the lockers a little bit more often, it will search the lockers. So it is. They nailed the look and feel of that 100% without a doubt.
Come play it. It's just terrifying to me.
I would. Have you ever watched it? People watched playing it then?
No, I can't. I can't do horror games. Anything horror games. I just find anything horror games. I can't play. Me and Ash, we started the Dark Pictures anthology, and literally like 5 minutes into the game, I'm like, I can't play this. I could feel my heart beating out my chest. It was just like these jump scares, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't play it. Horror films, I love. The gorier, the more horror it is, the better I love it. But come to games, it's like, no. I played a game called Paranormal Activity, which came out on the PSVR 1. And I picked it up because I thought, yeah, it can't be that bad. Terrifying. You start off outside this gate, and you've got to walk in the house. And as soon as you walk through the gate, there's like this like noise, and you look up. Obviously, because you got to physically look up. As a person stood in the window, I'm like, no, I can't. Why would I even go in this house? Why am I here? This is stupid. So I went in the house, and I'm walking around, and nothing's really happening. And I hear a tap. I'm like, what the hell's that? So I go up these stairs. I walk down this corridor, and obviously, because it's VR, you lean and look around, and I lean around this corner, and there's this like woman, and she's like wearing this white dress, and she's like hammering boards with a hammer on the window. I'm like, what the hell? And all of a sudden, because I'm like leaning a bit more, because obviously it could hear your voice as well, and then all of a sudden I went, what the fuck? And then she stopped tapping. And like a head just turned round and looked at me, screamed at me and ran at me, and I just took the headset off, went, nope, that's it, I'm done, nope, that was it. And I never went back to it. I thought, no. I was...
Just to remind you, we are actually live. Stubz has decided to quickly throw us on in mid-conversation, and that's kind of a bit fair to us, because we were kind of probably chatting away. This is what we do here on the show. We sometimes have a chat before we go live. But Stubb was a bit cheeky and in.
So if you're listening to a gaming conversation with friends, you've probably never heard it start like that before. See, Removable's not been able to talk for a few weeks, so he's gagging to get back into the action.
That's why everyone's so happy. That's why everyone was so happy I wasn't around.
Well, they were so intense though. It started off about aliens. They were so intense, and like I didn't want to butt in.
Well, we actually started talking about Armageddon because that's
that was it.
And aliens.
Okay,
Best film ever, by the way. Music, film. Oh, I love it.
We are back. We are back though. A gaming conversation with friends. As you can hear, we've got BMG on the show. How you doing, mate?
Bonjour.
Thanks for sending in the sonic signal, as Removable would say.
Oh no! Let's not go there. Or I'll find a way to get this show cancelled. That's just the mention of that name.
You're talking positive about Stubz. You can't have that.
I'm sorry. I've got a bit of sick in my mouth. Sonic.
But it's nice to have you on.
Yeah, it's been nice a while. You've been busy man, haven't you, recently?
Yeah, I've been really busy. When we were like on the XPN doing an XBL Party podcast, we weren't going to do a show last week, but I ended up with a free Thursday evening. And it was the 150th episode, so we thought, we're going to have to do something. So we Fabio hosted, which is so he hosted for the first time. We had Jinner on, we had Luke Steele on. Ash wasn't meant to be on because he said, I'm going on holiday in a couple of days, so he wasn't on. And then he decided, I've got to be there now. So we ended up with Ash as well. But Fabio hosted.
He changed his mind as many times as he's changed his feeling of his pasties. That man, honestly.
That's it. But yeah, it's just really busy work-wise. And
it's holiday season, isn't it? It's holiday season.
But I was just sat about because I've got a really busy day tomorrow. It's going to be like a 20-hour day tomorrow. But I thought I had a free evening, and I was just sat there and I'd seen a tweet pop up or Zeet, whatever you want to call it.
It's a twixt.
Yeah, and I thought, I forgot. Yeah, it's Monday, isn't it? It's like to lose track of days. So I did say I would just be in chat, but Stubbs invited me on, so I was like, it's like, well, yeah, I'm having a couple of beers. I'm having a swim with vape. I was like, why not? Why not jump on? So me and Mr. VJ can just talk only fools and horses for the entire show and hijack it. That's the plan.
Yeah,
it's no difference to any other time, is it? Really?
He stepped away for a minute. VJ has.
He's gone. He's gone for a cup of tea.
It's good to have you back on, and
he's going to get his Del Boy rings and his hat, and he, go and get his case.
Yeah, and Meisuko, the man that has made the gaming conversation with friends, has some downloads from China. Because when he was on holiday, he managed to get into Spotify, and it worked. And he listened to a game conversation with friends. So, on the countries list, we have China now because of Meisuko.
Yes.
We do.
Bonjour, everybody. I love that the BMG is already getting to the only fools and horses mood.
Stick a pony in me pocket. I fetched the suitcase from the van. Sorry, Meisuko. I love it. I can't.
Yeah, cannot hold it in. yeah, I had a nice holiday visiting China, but like so many things are blocked there. But surprisingly, Spotify wasn't blocked.
It's music, probably. You probably don't realise there's podcasts where you can listen to different opinions. So maybe it might be blocked in the future.
I've got an important question. Important question for Meisuko about China.
Yeah.
When you flush the toilet, which way does the water go?
Down.
Clockwise or anti-clockwise?
Really?
That's a good question. I have never.
Because it goes clockwise here in the UK, but which way does it go in China?
I don't think he was looking, were you?
No.
No?
I was not.
Next, you're going to tell me no one on this panel talks about. They'll tell me next that no one on the panel thinks about the Romans at least once a day. I do.
Romans or the Roman Empire? That's a very different situation.
Well, both. Roman Empire and the Romans, how they wore them.
You can look at our roads and sandals. You can look at the British roads and go, compared to the Roman roads, or the Roman Empire is a different, a whole different context, isn't it?
Yeah, as long as you think about it once a day, you can think about whatever you want. The baths, the roads, anything. Don't matter. The way they wore the dresses, the knee-high sandals.
Darth Praxis has mentioned, Jesus Christ, you can mention, that's part
Darth
of
Praxis, thanks for coming in. Yeah. Pro Gamer Moves, thanks for popping in. Back from the Dead, thanks for popping in. Hope you're all well. But yeah.
I need to have a chat with Back from the Dead. I need to know his thoughts on Final Shape.
I'm sure he will tell you. Definitely. Final Shape. Have you played it? Yeah, I presume you have.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yes. I finished the campaign. I've just done the first act of the first episode because we've done what. So I tell you what, just finish your introductions first, otherwise I'll end up going on forever. Go on. Sorry, let me shut up.
Goat Force Gaming in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. And did I see 4,000 subscribers, Goat Force Gaming? I'm pretty sure I did. Congratulations. So, VJ, are you back yet? Nope, he's not back. That's fine. And, yeah, you did. Well done. It's a big achievement, Goat Force. You deserve it for doing the genre you do. You do very well in the roguelite and roguelites. It's quite good content. You get very good views. You do. You work hard though on putting out your content on a consistent basis. It's well deserved, mate. It really is. It is. I should be more consistent for my videos, but oh well.
You have had a lot of those short videos now.
Yeah, they're really easy to make shorts, aren't they? Really easy. That's why. Consistency with shorts, yes. There'll be more coming. They're not that great, but some of them get a lot of views, and they're not that good. But that's the way shorts work. It is.
I guess it's good that you if something funny happens in multiplayer and then you just capture it.
Oh, there would have been a scene had when we played the first stream of Hivebusters, which didn't get streamed because I didn't have to do the voice chat. There was a bit where if it was clipped, it would have been really funny. I was telling Paul how to take the robot down. Then I tried to do it and absolutely epically failed. It was very funny, but it wasn't recorded. It wasn't. But yes, I think I'm sure VJ will let us know when he's back. He will. Well, that's the ground I needed for the Nintendo Direct talk. The man that requested it. He's the one that requested it.
He's the best person to talk about.
He's the one that requested it, and I watched the Direct. I liked it. Are you back yet, VJ? We'll go with what's everyone been playing then.
Well, are you not going to introduce like RemovableSanity?
RemovableSanity, welcome. Sorry about that. How you doing?
Really, see, he's forgotten about me.
The problem is,
weeks and that's it.
well, it's not that. It's just that he drove past Rutland and didn't ring me to say, "Do you want to come in for a drink?" He texted me earlier saying, "I drove past Rutland yesterday." It's like, what? Didn't you ring me?
There was just no way in hell after I'd done like a 15-mile.
Oh no, I'm joking. I am.
I did like a 15-mile walk across the peak, the peaks, lakes, and was bitten to high heaven. Hadn't stopped, and my body was killing me. And at that point, I was like, I was 2 hours into a 3.5 hour drive, and I just saw the sign Rutland, and I thought, if I'd felt better, I probably would have done. But it's like, nope, I'm going home. I need a beer, and I need to sit down because I'm in agony.
I will not. I don't. I mean, obviously, BMG's used to driving for long miles, but I hate driving for that length. Goodness, no.
I've done
to the blue moon.
I've done 8.5 hours in one sitting before.
Yeah. What's your record then?
Sushi was doing like 10 to 15.
Well, he's lorry driver though, isn't he?
Yeah, so yeah. But my worst was about 8.5 hours with, I think it was about two.
How were you going? To Scotland or somewhere?
It was actually, I was actually driving up to Scotland. Yeah, so ironically, this was a long time ago when I was a bit younger. But yeah, that was, I was nipping up to Edinburgh. I nipped up to, and it's like, well, when I worked it out at the time, it was like train was going to cost me a fortune. So I was like, screw it, I'll just drive. You know, as you're young and idiotic, you think, that'll be fine. 8 hours is nothing, and it's it's not really nothing. But yes, I'm doing very well. It's good to be back. It's good to see everyone's here. It's good to see obviously BMG and Meisuko. Now Meisuko's back. He'll be able to tell us all of his insights from China, good and bad, I'm sure. Obviously VJ. It's good to see. Well, once he gets back, it's good to obviously have his conversation. And hopefully we'll have a nice chat about all games things and non-game things related.
Most definitely. So, you back yet, VJ? Is he muted? Let's have a look. Yeah, he's still muted. So, I don't normally ask it, but let's just... What you been playing, BMG, then?
There's really only been one game that I've been playing that's taken up all my time, and that is the new expansion to Destiny 2, The Final Shape, which, as far as we know, is the actual proper final expansion of Destiny 2, which ends the Light and Dark saga, which started 10 years ago.
It's crazy, isn't it?
10 years from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. And it's probably the best expansion they have ever made. You know, from story, from all the cutscenes, from the content they've added, the new subclass that they've added called Prismatic, which it kind of breaks the game a bit, but they've purposely made it that way. It's like usually you've got multiple light and dark subclasses, and you pick which one you want to go with, and that's your build it how you want, whether you want to be damage output, healing, and what have you. But this one, they've made it so you can mix the subclasses, so you can have a light power, dark power, another light power. But yeah, it got, I think it was about a 93 on Metacritic. Absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed the story. It was like the perfect way to end it. It had the ending to the final shape was a Avengers Endgame moment. You know, where they all show up and they all go to war. They introduced the last mission of it. They introduced it's a 12 Guardian event, so it match makes, so you don't have to find 12 people. It will do it for you. If you can have up to 12 friends or however many friends you've got playing with you in your fire team, then it'll do the rest out with other players. And it's just like an all-out war to fight what's called the Witness, which is trying to freeze everything in time, so to speak, so nothing ever changes again to be the final shape, as it's called. But yeah, big Avengers Endgame moment. They've done away with seasons now. They've introduced what they call episodes. So there's 3 episodes that will lead till February-ish next year. Each episode is 3 acts that comes out over a period of so many months. Just done the first act, finished that. Bit different. It still feels like a season, but a lot of it is you can't access yet. But we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, it's just literally taken up all my time. They've introduced an exotic quest, which gives you an exotic class item, which I'm a warlock, so that's what's a warlock bond. But you need 2 people to do it. You can't take more than 2. It's got to be 2, no more, no less. And you've got to work together. Communication's key because one of you does part of it, the other one does the other part, and you have to communicate what one sees for the other to see to do it. But it's been kicking my backside, and my friend Shadow Mall, who I'm doing it with. So we've not quite done it yet. Was going to have an attempt tonight, but it's like, no, you know what? I just can't be bothered tonight. It's we'll maybe come to it another day when I've got a free evening. Maybe Wednesday. I think I'm free Wednesday. I think, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I've been playing. It's I've got a lot more to do in it. I've got loads of games to play, and believe it or not, I hope all you boys have sat down. I've bought an indie game.
What? Where's indie game when you need him? Where is he?
I reached out to Indie Gamer to tell him. I said, I hope you sat down because I've bought an indie game. I bought it on PS5, and it's Cult of the Lamb.
Oh, Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, very good.
Devolver.
So, I've not played it yet. Not played it, but it is installed. It is sat there ready to go, but I haven't played it yet. But I quite like the idea of, you know, I've always aspired as a kid to have my own cult, so maybe this is as close as I get.
Well, Indie Gamer name one of his goats or whatever they are, sheep, mate. Stubz. What?
Oh yeah, I'm going to name them after everyone I know.
Lambs, they're lambs.
Lambs.
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb. That might be a giveaway. Yeah, you're right there.
But yeah, but other than that, and I did briefly play, and when I say briefly, I mean like very, very briefly. But on Xbox Game Pass, there's a game called Galacticare, which is like Theme Hospital, but in space. So
hang on, is that another indie game?
I don't know.
You've
I don't know. But I've got it installed to play. I briefly played it, but I like them like management type games, like Jurassic World 2. They have announced they're doing a 3rd game. They've not directly said it's Jurassic World 3, but they have said they're making another game in that franchise. So you've got to assume it's the number 3, not a spin-off.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
And I love them games. You know, I remember Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, one of my favourite games that I played on PC because you could only play it on PC then. You know, when they were simple and, you know, the games didn't require much to actually play. Not now where you've got to get your spreadsheets out, your Excel spreadsheet, go across and, you know, turn some dials and click some buttons and type letters to see if your computer can play a game. You know, none of that then. But yeah, so that's me. That's all I've been playing, and I've got more Destiny to play. I've got too much to do in there. I've just not got really time for anything else at the moment.
That's fair enough. That is. Yeah, that's good. It's good to hear you've been enjoying it because I know you've been waiting for it for a very long time.
It was delayed nearly a year. No, it wasn't. No, I tell a lie. It was delayed. It was meant to come out February the 22nd, and it got delayed till June 6th. So
Okay.
not a year, nowhere near a year. But but obviously they announced
It felt like a
the
year.
previous year. Well, it was because they announced it. Because usually the way they work is every February, new expansion will come out, and seasons will then continue. The very last season, then it literally finishes the day the new season and the new expansion starts. But they delayed it because obviously they said they had stuff more to work on, more polish to do, which the product they put out is the best work they've put out ever. And Taken King's always been the number one.
I remember that.
Everyone talks about.
I remember that. Yeah,
everyone does. Everyone does. But this is the best work Bungie's ever done, and they held. It was last week before, sort of a bit of a tease, which each episode's going to have, and then they teased. Because we know they're working on Destiny 3. We know they're working on Destiny 3 from leaks.
Are they
previous
devs. I thought they were finishing Destiny. No.
No. There's To
be fair, I mean, if they've got to rely on Marathon, I think the company might be finished.
Yeah. No, Marathon's just going to be a side project. That's now delayed till next year.
I don't think it's a big money maker. I think
it's
not like Destiny.
Yeah, I think
it might work. I'm just saying
Division. It's not.
I just mean compared.
Division Dark Zone. If you ever played Division in the Dark Zone, that is pretty much what the game is, but faster.
Yeah.
And in first person. So, but so we know we're working on Destiny 3, but what they teased was the Destiny 2 Frontiers coming in year 11. And the only thing we can sort of think that is that they're taking us out the current solar system somewhere else. So hopefully later this year, early next year, we'll get sort of a tease of what actually that's going to be.
Okay. We'll have to wait and see. We will. We will about that. So we'll jump back to what everyone else is playing later, but I think VJ's back. I've heard a few coughs. Are you back, VJ?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to hear. Now, let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. What did you think? Any specific games you want me to put on screen as well? Because I've got trailers as well. I have.
Only put on whatever they got in 4K 60. Oh no, they can't do that, can they? Never mind.
No, they haven't. What did you think, VJ?
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I do watch. I watch most of the showcases, and I thought that coming to the end of its life cycle, it's a presumption really. I thought that they put on a fantastic showcase of upcoming releases. Pretty much packed out for the year end, and I just think I just thought it was really, really good, and games that I would typically play. I can't remember if they showed Dragon Quest 2D 3D remake.
Yes, it's on screen now. They showed. Well, it says Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake.
Yeah, HD 2D. Yeah,
it's on screen now.
And then, but yeah, no, I thought it was a really good show. It's probably a game I'm definitely looking forward to, and yeah, I mean, all their content's just got so much charm and so much character. There's a massive audience for it, even if it doesn't run at 4K 60. There you go.
Do you think because of the remaster, do you think there's something now that they're gonna start going back to some of the older franchise and remastering, knowing that remasters are becoming, I wouldn't say acceptable, people want to see their favorite old games in a much more upgraded style. And it's becoming more popular. Do you think it's going to see something that Nintendo is going to lean into more heavily now with the older franchises? Or
I think that I mean, you're familiar with Octopath Traveler. I think that was quite a surprise. It came out of nowhere at the time. and obviously the sequels on Game Pass as well. And I think because of the success of that, and the fact that there was another RPG, I can't remember what it was, another 2D remake, but it might have been more. Actually, it might have been the Final Fantasy 7 game, or was it the 8? I can't remember. But basically, I had a load of features added to it, like as in speed up battles up to 2 to 3 times, and all the mod cons
Quality
that
of
people.
life.
Yeah, they want the nostalgia, but they don't want the ropey gameplay, shall we say, that we were used to from back in the day. So I think that, to answer your question, I mean, Dragon Quest is a massive series in Japan, as you know, and I was just surprised that they've announced the remake of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 as well. I believe, alongside the reveal of this trailer of this game coming at the end of the year. So I don't know what it costs in terms of production, but I think that Square, and if I know Nintendo have a few as well, like Breath of the Fire series and Breath of Fire series. I guess that they continue to sell. They've got the resources and the budgets aren't crazy. Then definitely, I think it's something that will definitely have a, how can I say, an audience. So, and I'm just glad that they exist. If I'm honest with you. I'm kind of really keen to play them. And from the previews that I've read, they've added sort of modern gameplay features if you want to sort of switch those options on, which is really, really good. Which is something I wished Ayuden Chronicles had incorporated, as well as just being a traditional RPG back from the 80s and 90s. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes, removable, as long as that they see some, well, as you say, right, it's money at the end of the day. Money for old roke, as Del Boy would say.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think generally, it's one of these things that I think it needs more of it to come through. More retro, I think, seems to be the thing that seems to kind of work, and I like the fact that, as you said, it adds some quality of life features on there. And Nintendo does have a nice selection of franchises they can tap into at any point.
Yeah.
And it's good to see them, revitalizing it. Like, for instance, what we've got on the screen now. It's
Metroid. It looks good.
Yeah, Metroid. Yeah, it looks very good. It looks
I
very
know. I was
good.
surprised it was running on the. I was surprised it was running on the Switch. I'm not saying it isn't, but it looks really good.
It looks too good for the Switch.
Yeah,
it does.
Well, to be fair, I think it's because this is docked mode.
I got a separate trailer. Hang on, I dragged that from the main show. I've actually got the trailer.
I think this is docked mode. Or is it? I'm not 100% sure. But in general, I think there is a lot of there's a lot of little untapped power in the Switch. Because remember, it can fluctuate between docked mode and handheld, and so in docked mode, it can clearly ramp itself up.
In terms of resolution, I find from the Switch games that I play, it's typically resolution that improves.
Yeah, well, I think they're doing a lot of post-processing now. A lot of software is able to do a lot of upscaling. That's the terminology. Upscaling. They can do a lot of upscaling now with less less heavy weight in terms of the frame rate sort of thing. Yeah, it's one of the things that I looked at this and I was like, wow.
Yep.
Okay then. Yeah. It's definitely one of the things that I can definitely see it moving forward, and hopefully, the question I suppose now is, are they going to keep playing? You said this is near the end of its life. Do you think it's near the end of its life, or are they going to try and egg this out for maybe a couple more years before, say,
I think
Switch 2 or something, or Switch Pro?
I think to answer that question, the showcase we've just seen, all those games are coming to Nintendo Switch. There was no mention of Switch 2. And these releases are, as far as I can tell, are for the end of this year and first quarter next year. And the sheer number of releases from first party and some big games from well, there's a Sony first party game and IP in there, and there's also Dragon Quest in there, which are both also coming to Switch. So I would say that they're still going to, if Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are also coming to Switch, then definitely 2025 is going to be a Switch rich year, alongside any Switch 2 that they decide to launch, which on feasibly it seems that it probably will be, these cartridges, the system will be backwards compatible. So I would say on both fronts you're correct.
Okay. No, I mean it's how can I describe the show? Would you classify the show action packed in terms of what they're releasing and the future franchises, and also the remaster franchises that have been announced? Would you? I mean, it felt like it to me. It felt like it was much more.
I think another statistic that backs up what you say, Removable, is the sheer number of units that they've shifted in the last quarter or the last month. I can't remember what the was. It was still in the hundreds of thousands. So, there's how long has the Switch been out now? 8 years. So, parents that are going out now and buying a console for the kids that are now 10, 11, or 8, 9, 10, 11, or whatever. The Switch has been out for several years. They're buying them a Switch this Christmas, and so I think you're right. Like hardcore gamers like BMG obviously will probably buy a Switch too, alongside his new PC.
Well, hang on, let's hold fire. Now, if GTA 5 was to be released, this man would buy one just for that.
I'd buy the game, but I won't buy the Switch.
Well, just to give him some support.
They need it.
Yeah, I just think Removal is spot on, because what was it? The statistic that came out that 50% of Sony's user base is still on PS4 4 years after the launch of the PS5.
Yes.
And the popularity of the Switch, if there's a price drop, which I doubt, then the new system will be higher, unless they drop the price of this system and launch the new system at the original that this launched. I don't know.
No, I think they'll probably keep it at the same price because of the actual price difference, and then they'll drop the original. Yeah, I think that's more likely to say the price increase, because I'm just seeing price increases talk generally, whether it's.
So I was told. Sorry, I was told that the next Switch was showed off behind closed doors at Gamescom last year, but the media weren't allowed to say anything about it. But I was told that, and Luke in chats saying Nintendo have already confirmed they'll make an announcement on the Switch successor this financial year. So by the end of March 2025, they'll let people know. They will.
I think Removal was just talking about in terms of the price, positioning of the price, whether they reduce the cost of the Switch or they leave it as it is because it's still selling so well, and then whatever that means for the new system, whether it's $100 more.
My gut feeling is
if you're still selling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My gut feeling is they'll put the new one at the same price, and then they'll put the older model at maybe, I don't know, $100 cheaper, and that will still sell. So regardless of what happens to the new system, clearly those who want the better fidelity, maybe, I don't know, the higher refresh frame rate, 1080p as a minimum, maybe, I don't know, whatever it could be. They'll definitely, the more hardcore will definitely go for the upgrade. For your standard, for your people who want to get into that ecosystem, maybe for those who have less money, or there are people out there who don't have that amount of funds, this will then entice them into the ecosystem. So it's like a kind of like a win-win situation.
Yeah, kids that are younger and prone to dropping them or or losing them. That are just
breaking them. Even just and families that don't have that, maybe that price range is just a little bit too out for the reach. The poorer families, that will then bring them into the ecosystem. So it's I think it's a win-win situation. I'm just seeing there's too much of a backlash, especially with the price of cost of living increase everywhere. I think people are watching their budgets much more carefully, and it would be. I don't think it would go financially. I don't think it would sell as well if they increased the price. Now, saying that, if they increased it, I don't know, like $10 or $15, you could probably get away with it.
These guys are like Apple, though. People just buy it. Do you know what I mean? They do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but at this point, you've got to realise there's also a user base that has already got a Switch.
That's
so
true.
there has to be an enticement, a reason, yes, for them to go to a higher system. And as I said, for your hardcore, they won't care. They'll buy it regardless.
Luke's saying I'd be extremely surprised if Switch 2 was at launch was surprised if a Switch 2 launch at $299.
I don't know. I think if.
But one thing I'll give Nintendo credit for, you say they've been at 8 years about making money out of the hardware. They would have made their money a long time ago.
That's what I'm saying. I think they might take the knock because they know they'll get their money back where it matters.
Very fast.
I see what Luke is saying, and he's got a fair point.
I've probably explained it wrong. I probably have.
No, you're fine. But the most important thing, just to what Removal was saying, I think yes, the original Switch definitely has legs. Yes, there's probably room to maneuver in terms of dropping the price when the hardware stops selling or the numbers stop shifting. But at the moment, it's not letting up. And the showcase in terms of the content that it showed, there's massive support for the Switch going forward. And that tells you everything you need to know about where Nintendo's placed right now in lieu of their new system coming out whenever that hits and at whatever price point.
Well, the way I look at it is they're not gonna stop supporting that system, are they? As far as I'm aware of the original system Switch, they're not going to stop the Switch 2. So therefore, it makes sense to kind of keep that ecosystem as live as long as possible, which may be only, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe, depending on how it is, or depending because it's, as you said, it's been 8 years, and people are still utilizing it and purchasing it, so it's got its legs.
It's still really healthy.
Yeah, it's people aren't. I'm not saying they're not worried about the graphical fidelity, but it's less of a concern. It's much more about the gameplay with Nintendo, from what I'm seeing from people who have one. They're more interested in how fun it is, and the graphical fidelity is a nice bonus. So for me, I'm taking that mentality and then moving it to Switch 2. And in my head, the Switch 2 would be improving on the baseline system. So improving the graphical fidelity as a handheld, improving its docking capability, maybe improving its frame rate, its software, maybe improving its battery life. Otherwise, you're then making such a big jump. You'd be then trying to compete with stuff like the Steam Deck, which is not it's not something they want to do. They want to have their own system, so they'll want to keep keep to that ethos. And I could be completely utterly wrong here. This is just my opinion on the matter, but it would make logical sense just to tweak what they know, almost like the perfect methodology to make it better, and then work within those boundaries rather than going really crazy out there, with 18-hour battery life, 4K. I don't think that's going to be the sort of the Nintendo ethos. I think the ethos is it's having something that works and that's really fun. That can meet most people's price ranges and gets them into the ecosystem where effectively they're trapped. They can't get it. Those ecosystem isn't going to be. The most fun games are on.
They're really good at. Well, other than the Virtual Boy, they're very good at hitting the nail on the head. So I don't really have any concerns It was just the fact that the showcase I thought was phenomenal. I think there's a lot of games there that I would typically play. Dragon Quest stole the show for me, but they've just got such fantastic intellectual property, and they've got such a captive audience already. How many units? 130 million units, and some of their big releases just don't fail to sell 10 to 20 million units, regardless of, as you say, the graphical fidelity. I know BMG will probably object and say it's got to be 4K 60. Or
I will say something though. I think the next Switch will have quite a big leap. I think you're talking PS4, Xbox One graphics, because that's the leap you're probably looking at. Because
why?
It's old tech.
What's the benefit? No, what I'm saying is, what's the benefit of that?
I don't know really. It's just a guess. Yeah.
Because this is the thing. If you're going to go to that leap, then you're right. They're going to have to make the system more expensive.
Yeah.
And then people will be hesitant.
If
it's just a slight graphical, so for instance, you make it 1080p as a standard, you make the frame rate much more smoother, you maybe the battery life is a little bit better. The system then is actually better, and probably can handle a little bit more. But at the same stage, they can then still sell it for maybe the same price it was, and just knock that and keep that ecosystem still thriving. If it's going to go to the PS4 side, I don't know. I think
there's much more to it. I mean, I understand completely what you're saying. I just think there's a lot to it. They need. I don't know how much they typically rely, because I don't know the split on third-party content and the pipelines that they have in terms of how they develop. Are they, now embedded in pipelines that will only support hardware, third-party software for Nintendo if it's got an SSD and all this other nonsense? So the thing is, as I say, they've just got such a strong internal IP reliance. Well, not necessity. They don't rely on third party as much as, say, Sony and Microsoft do. Well, I say Microsoft, but they own half the publishers on the planet now. But I think they're in a good spot, and I just think that if the hardware's coming and it's a bit more powerful, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% more powerful, and even more so, as long as the content's there, which is always king, I think there's nothing to worry about, and it's welcome for those people, like you say, the hardcore.
Well, for me, I looked at it like, if you've got your third party and you're going to introduce much more graphical fidelity in terms of third party, I can understand its necessity. With your first party, you can tweak the system to suit whatever you want. That's the difference, isn't it? It seems to me, if you're going to go for third party, then I can understand the reasoning of why you would want to really, as you said, go to the PS4 style sort of situation.
Well, apparently they want Call of Duty to do. That all came up, didn't it? They want the Call of Duty on it, but I don't ever think it's going to come. But that went around a lot, didn't it, during that APK case? So maybe
that's true. Go with that as a point. It's true. Where it is, then you could make that work within the docking mode. I don't think it would work very well within the handheld aspect, but definitely the docking mode, you could actually make that work.
Well, I don't think that would be the reason, though, because they don't need anyone. They don't. You know what I mean?
No, it's not that. If you just take Sony and Horizon, right? They could have just made the Lego game for the PlayStation. I'm not unless Lego had a say in it in terms of they need it on the Switch. But the thing is, if the IP's suited enough and the developer, third-party publisher decides that, hang on, this IP, if we set a team and a budget aside, because it will sell on the system, and they'll make a dedicated version for it, and because they'll know that with that install base that they will sell 3 or 4 or 5 million units. So sometimes it may just be something as simple as that, because for the Nintendo Switch, no one has ever come out and said they lack third-party support. It's just that they haven't needed it. And any third-party publisher that has made content for them has made bespoke content for that system, right? Like Octopath Traveler, for example. So it really is a case of what content fits it, as in Lego Horizon Adventures fits it perfectly, I believe. And time will tell in terms of what the sales are. But Sony and Lego obviously think so, that it merits a release on that hardware system, even though it's significantly different to the PS5 and PS4, etc. So it all just comes down to everybody just making their own business decision. This is why I say Nintendo hardly ever miss. So if Removable could be completely right, it's just an incremental improvement across the board, and they're relying on first party. And I'm saying maybe they'll just push it a little bit more to have perhaps Elden Ring on it, going forward. I have no idea, or Call of Duty if you prefer that game. So, but I'm just grateful the fact that I thought the showcase was fantastic. I thought the IP and the content and Dragon Quest and all the other games that are coming, the Mario and the Princess Zelda game coming out, that just never lack innovation, and they always bring product content that may not be suited to everybody, but just does sell a hell of a lot of units in the
I would say
I think they're in a good place.
I was about to say from the showcase, I would argue there was at least one game for someone.
Yeah, something for everybody.
It was really varied enough that something you could find something to be interesting. It may not be your type, but you could be like, well, actually, I'd like to try that out. I think there was that was what I found was quite intriguing. It was like they kind of hit almost every genre for someone to like, oh, do you want an RPG? Do you want an action adventure? Do you kind of want to shoot them up?
Well, the direct it made me want one.
Well, there you go. That's the perfect target. Then it's made someone who's not in their ecosystem.
Because to be fair, I mean, if you come into the Nintendo Switch ecosystem now, and you could just go off the back catalogue alone, there's loads of catching up to do. There's a lot of games. Like the Zelda isn't the 2 previous releases, or even this new one that's coming out on the Switch. I don't mean in general.
Yeah,
but there's loads. But
there is.
Whether I get one or not is another matter. But I do want one. I'm gonna try my brothers out. I
think there is. I don't know if VJ will be able to this. There is still a bit of a bone of contention with the. Is it the discs or the little SD cards and transferables, or trying to emulate or something? Is there something happening that's still kind of a? Is it old emulation? Or I'm sure I saw something about either like old copying games across or something. I just don't know. It's one of these things. Like I kind of half glanced at it. This was about a couple of months ago, where they're trying to, emulate some of the older games or put them on the system or something like that, and get it running.
They have that. They had what's that thing called? Like you pay your monthly, a bit like Game Pass, where you pay your fee and you can play online, etc. But you can access old Super Nintendo, N64, and NES games.
Maybe that was it. Yes, I think so. Yes, and they were having
pretty good.
Well, yeah, but when that support was like going out or something like that, there was something there was a bit of a bone of contention about it.
Yeah. I think it might. I mean, the first party stuff is on there. There's a lot of third party stuff on there, but whether they can get more third party stuff on there, maybe that's the issue. I really don't know. But I had a bit of. I was playing a lot of F-Zero. Sorry, on the Switch.
It's a system that does what it says on the tin.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, even like you see the Funko Fusion, which he was on the screen for us right now.
Does look fun.
It looks fun. It absolutely looks fun. You could pass that to your little one, and to be honest, you could pass it to yourself, and just have a right old poodle around and laugh with it. It does look enjoyable, and this is the thing. I think they've worked out that gameplay is king. And it's how the game plays, and then the graphical fidelity is a nice bonus to have. Yep. And I think it's and it's also innovation as well. They've just generally seemed to be focused on gameplay and innovation with the graphical fidelities where they can. Because and that just seems to work, and it's just no matter what, it does seem to work. It's whilst you may have issues with the way they manage their IPs in terms of sharing and online content and
closed ecosystem.
Yeah, it's pretty much a closed system. You may have those arguments. You can't say that what they're doing isn't working in terms of financials.
Yeah, and when it doesn't, they may change. But right now, there's no need to change their strategy. Their strategy works.
No. And this is the thing. It's like if the strategy works with the hardware, why would you go too overboard? Why would you push yourself beyond, it's like, I don't know, it's why, and this is how I'm thinking it logically, why would you want to go, and go for your 4K and Ultra? Why would you do that when you know you can get away with a much lighter system?
And the thing that, see, just all you have to say, Removable, if you look at it like this, right? Their first party content sales to the point where it's like 60-70% of the total software sales on their system. Perhaps then you have to think, well, okay, if we're going to open up the system, so lots and lots and lots of third party games and IPs like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption 2 and Call of Duty, help me out here, Elden Ring, whatever.
I can understand that if your system's waning, but it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens? Will that dilute some of our first party content sales, or perhaps we don't want that? So it'll all be just done to a degree to make sure that they've got healthy lineup of third party and first party content, and their goal is to try to achieve the phenomenal sales of the original Switch, and that's it. It's really, really simple.
And that's it, I think. And as you know, price of hardware hasn't it hasn't gotten any better.
No.
And then again with the cost, that's just it for me. It's the cost of living crisis with hardware as well. To push it to that next realm, they're going to have to put in a substantial amount of financial cash to get it to the PS4 standards. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a major cash injection, and then make sure it sales. Where if you put it maybe a little bit lighter, you don't have to worry as much, if that makes sense.
You mean, so you're basically saying you're a proponent of PS4 Lite, basically? Sorry, just a joke.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying is, you could do a PS4 Lite.
Yeah,
it would still. I mean, look, for instance, at Perfect Dark there, that game, the original game was like, what's that, 1998? It still sells well today. People are still playing it today. Yes, they put like an HD graphics on it, but it will sell. I can guarantee you it will sell. And people are still playing it even now. So it's again, I think it's a gameplay over graphic fidelities, and if they've kind of utilized that with their system, where it's fun over extreme graphical fidelity, so therefore you need the hardware to make sure that, because that's how my head works it around. I'm probably completely wrong, but that's how my sees it. It's like if you've got a strategy that works,
wrong. You're in the ballpark, and then it's just a case of plus or minus 10.
How far are they going to tweak it? Yeah.
Plus minus 10 to 25%. And I think, as I know that we've been on this topic, but I just wanted to say, sometimes I think they've been lucky that they haven't been forced to release a new piece of hardware, because typically when you launch a new piece of hardware, you're up against it. You've got a deadline, right? Because your competitor, PS5 versus Xbox, is releasing a system there and then. So you don't. But if you can delay your hardware, you can make massive savings right across the board.
The closest would probably be the Steam Deck.
I'm not sure about the Steam Deck. I don't play. I don't use.
I know why he's obviously they're going to upgrade it, but I think in terms of a system that just works, and almost hits the perfect standard, I would say the closest would be Steam Deck in terms of like handhelds.
What I was saying is, if Nintendo can have been able to delay their hardware because of Switch, the costs that they can save in terms of finding components which do exactly the same job, test those components, get them at a cheaper price, their production lines, making sure that they work and that the yields are better, and they can spend more time in preparation mode. You'd be surprised the considerable amount, and logistics as well, being able to ship product by sea rather than
itself. It's going to be a much better.
So they're not up against it. and they're not taking a massive hit up front. There's a lot of costs that they can mitigate in the tens, if not hundreds of millions, by delaying something, right? And having enough hardware for launch, and being able to ship it rather than send it out by air. There's a massive amounts of, like you were saying, in terms of investment, trying to get a machine out on a deadline versus being able to get it out when you can, when you can, basically, you can make a lot of savings in the preparation part of launching that system. 6 months to a year makes a massive difference. Everything from logistics to supply chain to manufacturing.
I can understand. Luke is mentioning in his chat. He says it won't cost that much to make a PS4 Plus performant handheld. Now, I must admit, yes. I mean, a lot of phones these days can kind of are getting more and more powerful with the chipsets, the battery powers, the software. Things are getting dramatically better. And maybe that's where my head's kind of looking. It's like it's almost it's that fine line of how far you wish to push the cost versus, as you were saying.
Yeah, I would just say, even though that's true, what I would say, when you're like someone like Nintendo or a car manufacturer, if you look at, sometimes they spend tens of millions of dollars, right, just to save like 2 seconds in their production line, and I know people that work in those industries. So if Nintendo can spend time and figure out how to save 2 cents here or 5 cents here or 15 cents there, I know it sounds like small amounts, but when you look at the number of years that they're investing into it, and how many units they're going to sell, for them, if they can save 5 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents across different aspects of production, they will do it. Especially if they've got the time to do it, they will implement those things.
Well, they've had the time, haven't they? They've got 8 years now, so yeah.
Microsoft, the reason why Nintendo is so good at it is because they say, okay, yeah, this is cheap, but can we get another $1 off somehow? Whether it's packaging, whether it's the magnets for the Joy-Cons, which is rumored, the savings, and there's production methodologies that you can incorporate that can save you a ton of money longer term. But you can do that if you've got time on your side, if you're not forced to release hardware. Because if you look at Sony, yeah, their systems breaking even or they're making money, but it hasn't necessarily been because of their production costs, the component costs. It's been because of their production methodologies. There's a massive. That's why I say to you, there's so much to it. We could be here forever, and I'm not. I remember all of it myself now. I'm not as well versed as I used to be, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying.
But no, I think if overall it was definitely one of the better showcases.
Really good.
For me, as Stubz so elegantly put it, if you wasn't in the ecosystem, it did make you want to be part of it, and that itself should tell you something.
Yeah.
If it can make people outside of the ecosystem want to be in it, that's exactly what yeah. Oh, obviously you got your hardcore BMGs who are just going to be Sonic fanboys for the rest of their lives. They'll never move from that system, But what I'm saying is, even if it's tapped into, you think about it. Say we've got 5 people here. At least, say maybe 1 or 2 people out of just this group were interested. That's still a big percentage rise in terms of so if you've done times that across 1 million people or 10 million people, that's a hell of a lot more people that were interested that weren't interested previously.
Yeah. I mean, Luke's got me sold on the Ray Trace Mario now. So yeah, and Luke
yeah,
Princess Peach, Ray Trace,
but yeah,
Ray Trace Princess. Yeah, I'm all in.
It's been a good topic, but I think we should move on because we would literally be on here till the end of the show talking about this.
BMG would just run off; he'd just disappear.
Yeah. So, I think Meisuko wanted to talk about. Well, he's now completed Like a Dragon, haven't you?
Yes.
You have.
I wanted to update you guys about it. So, yeah, that one was a massive game. So it took me 104 hours to beat it first time around. And like I was saying, I didn't do that much extra content. So my plan is to go with a higher difficulty and do the new game plus and
all the
clear
side
the
quests and side activities.
We're looking at 1,000 hours.
Yeah. It's probably
I'm
going to be a
joking.
lot.
I'm joking, but
So
You could be surprised, honestly. Just the arcade games themselves, you could easily put in a good 20 to 25 hours just for the arcade games.
you can.
Yeah.
So it's we joke about 1,000-hour game. Ironically, yes, that is easily a 1,000-hour game.
Yeah. So it's really like it kind of like cemented my feelings on the theory, like that it's now like my favorite turn-based JRPG battle system, definitely. Like,
do you think now that you've gone through that, do you think you'll explore more turn-based JRP systems, or like for instance, there is some new ones coming out? I know me and VJ are looking forward to a particular one. VJ, do you know what it is? You should do.
Yeah, Metaphor Refantasia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked him because I knew he'd be able to reel it off in perfectly. Where me and my brain's like, I'm sure it's like metaphor, blah blah blah. That's why I called him in. But yeah, so is that something now? Do you think that you're kind of, because also it's time to put aside, isn't it? Which means you're not playing. Well, you kind of multitask when it comes to playing games, isn't it? I've noticed.
Yeah, I like to play different kind of games at the same time.
But do you think do you think systems now you'll move on to other like a Dragon franchises, or do you think where's your next movement, I should say, besides obviously going to a second playthrough on this?
Well, so yeah. Besides that, I started another Sega game called Valkyria Chronicles. I don't know if you guys have heard about that one.
Which one's that? Could you repeat that? Sorry, Meisuko.
Valkyria Chronicles game.
I'm not sure. Maybe Stubz can pull up a trailer for it. I'm not sure. I'm not.
Yeah, it's a old game from 2008. So I have been playing it on the Steam Deck now, and it's like it's a strategy JRPG with this kind of a little bit like a hybrid mix of real time and turn-based. So maybe the easiest way how to explain it, that there is certain thresholds, like the distance of the enemies. Like if you get face to face with the enemy, you will die. So the turn-based system will not help you in that kind of situations. But if you move within reason and use cover and so on, so you can be tactical and so on.
Quick question: in that case, then, have you played the original Dragon Age Origins?
No, I haven't.
That has a very similar system upon which it is turn-based but you can fluctuate between turn-based and in real-world action as well. So if you like that, you might like that sort of thing, and it's got a superb. I would say it's got one of the best storytelling content out of the entire series. It's back to its original BioWare, good storytelling ethos, where even the side characters can really make you feel for them. But this is one of the reasons why I have a slight issue with modern day Dragon Age at the moment. Is it's gone away from the original ethos, which was this tactical turn-based system, and also having the option to go, free flow where you want it, to just more of an action phase system now, which Mass Effect was originally more akin to. The reason why they did Dragon Age and Mass Effect was they kind of had two different genres, and they did both so people could enjoy both. But now they've kind of merged them both together to make this new kind of system. But yeah, if you like that, you might like the original Dragon Age Origins. I would recommend highly on that one to give it a play.
Meisuko, you finished because I remember Stubbs had you on the show, and
Yeah.
when he can be bothered. I'm just kidding. You've completed a lot of games this year, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out in January. So, and I know there's been a lot of games we've talked about, but that's the one game you seem to be consistently, are consistently drawn back to. Would you say it's one of the top 3 games you played this year?
Yeah, definitely. Out of this year's release is definitely up there, and it's like I was a little bit worried about the pacing, because I was trying to explain that there is like incredible amount of story, like just the main story feels like double of the first Like a Dragon. So it feels like so jam packed of story that it sometimes felt like that the pacing suffered a little bit. But when I was reaching the end and starting to get the harder bosses and so on, so I was doing some of the
You took off your blindfold.
I had to play a little bit more tactically and try new things
With
and so
two
on.
controllers.
Yeah, yes. So it was like it was like I really like the battle system.
It came together well for you in the end. It all came together and it was all worth it, right?
Yeah. So the story bit was like brilliant by the end, because like I was like thinking like what is the name of the infinite wealth, and it all came together in the end, because like when you are thinking about the previous game, it's not like that the cast would be this kind of materialistic bunch. So and they are not either in this game. Like it's like more like what kind of things people cannot take away from you. Like it's nothing like super philosophical, but like game companies can choose what kind of stories and what kind of people and what kind of values they want to represent, and it's I appreciate that they like show this kind of side of people, like that are more to the human connection side of wealth than the material wealth in this world. So I appreciate it, and there was like a lot of funny moments related to that in the game. So, and it's like one of my favorite Japanese rock stars was singing the last song for the game. So it was like
Meisuko-san.
no, it's Sheena Ringo. I don't know if you have heard, but
Sheena Ringo, it wasn't. Isn't he? He's quite famous, isn't he?
Yeah, she is.
It's like super
famous.
Yeah, I'm sure. Is it she or he? I'm afraid.
Yeah, she. So she is like
yes,
this kind of person that you could like see as a yakuza,
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking of the other guy that was also super famous. He because I think they generally try to put in at least one famous rock star band or rock star-esque person in their games, and I know who you're talking about now. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually like it's actually the song was like pretty much also singing exactly about infinite wealth in Japanese, but there was subtitles and everything, so everybody can get on the the final moments and emotional roller coaster.
Did you play the game with English or Japanese voiceovers?
Japanese, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, nice. Oh, okay.
And Would anyone,
Yeah.
would you, Mr. Stubbs, or would you, Removable, or you, BMG, if this game came to Game Pass, which I'm hoping it will, early next year, perhaps get onto it and play it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for me,
I just want to
I have to finish Like a Dragon first.
I just want to interject first because I've been reminded. If you're live in the chat and you're not on the panel, there's an Xbox giveaway for an Xbox Ultimate code. All you have to do is type in the chat your most anticipated game. Then I'll write your names down and draw someone at random, but it can't be a panel member. The code is global, so it doesn't matter what country you live in. And yeah, just type in the chat all the 10 people or 7 people. But yeah, just thought, and I'll draw it at the end of the show. Just type in your most anticipated game of the year, and
That's going to annoy BMG.
And I'll enter you all in the competition. Just thought I'd let you know because I did put it on Twitter. I did. So yeah, just let us know in the chat.
Right, but not Russia. Nothing works there.
But what do you say? Sorry.
Russian subtitles.
Well, it has to be in English, obviously, for me to understand
it. Yeah.
And you have to be subscribed because subscriber chats on. So, as far as I know, you have to be subscribed to the chat.
Is that just YouTube or is that Rumble?
This is just a YouTube competition because it's hard to tell on Rumble who's actually followed. I can't tell.
Your fault, Removable. All this talk of closed systems.
Yep.
I'll just go and check that live chat's only on. But no, sorry, carry on. Okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
There we go.
I've asked.
Yeah.
So, ahead, Meisuko.
Yeah. So, I'm really, really pleasantly surprised by that game, and there is a lot to enjoy still in that game. So it was definitely worth the money, even with the new game plus tax that they added.
That's one thing that kind of put me off, I must admit. Yeah, you played Like a Dragon, haven't you, Meisuko?
Yeah.
So
in terms it was my favorite game, like when it came out. Really enjoyed it. And
so you think that Ultimate Wealth is better than Like a Dragon, or how would you rate either of those two?
Yeah, it is better because they improved on the battle system, and the only thing is like if you don't enjoy massive games like this is like the size of like this Persona 5. So if you don't enjoy
Meisuko, I just wanted to interject there just for a quick second, but it sounds like a game that, and Removable, well, because I've had this discussion with Removable, is that it's a kind of game that sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you can play it and then like go off on holiday to China for 6 weeks without telling anybody, and then come back and dive straight back into it.
Yeah.
He did tell people this time, to be fair.
I'm just kidding. I'm just putting his leg. He knows I like to show his Brussels sprouts on live on air now and then.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like if you enjoyed the first one, you will love this second one also. So it's I don't know how about you, VJ, and all the rest on the panel, like how would you guys rank the first Like a Dragon?
I really enjoyed it. Removable knows. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The story, especially, if you're telling me the story is better than the first one, which I don't want to say this one is better than the first one. I haven't played it, but I think the first one was a really good game in its own right at the time it came out. Can I say that? I think that's fairer to say it that way. Rather than diminish it in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, Removable.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I haven't actually completed the first one yet. Again, it's one of those things where I fight this is a little bit of my own. I get to a point. Yeah, I get to a point where it's not a tutorial. I get to a point where I don't know why I do this. I get to a point where I mentally know I'm on the last section, and then it's like a magpie effect. It's like, oh, new game, and then that takes over. I get to the end, to the point where it's the last section, and it's like, oh, new game, and then I'll go back to it and go, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm near the end, so it's now harder because I've completely forgotten the strategy I was, utilizing at the beginning. I've just got to get myself out of that sort of pattern. But I do find myself into that pattern. I do go back and complete them. It's like, when am I going to go back and complete them, sort of thing. And it's the same thing with, like a dragon. I know I'll complete it. And for me, that's what's stopping me moving on to Ultimate Wealth. Because I don't feel then I deserve to start Ultimate Wealth until I've fully completed the storyline of the first one.
Guess which game I started like over decade ago, and I finished on the summer holiday. I have mentioned
Final Fantasy.
No. It's one of those hard games.
Oh God, you yes, I think you did mention something. Now my brain's gone now.
I finished Dark Souls for the first time.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, and I mean that's not easy.
No, and that one was another like really great experience for like a RPG fan, because it's like I think many people have given their take on that game, and I think so many different people view it in totally different way. Like it's like, yeah.
No, I agree. Go on.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, like you guys were talking about Persona and Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and the prequel. Well, not the prequel, the first installment. There was another game. I think we spoke about it on the last show when you was on Removal. I think Luke put it into the chat. And are you looking forward to what was it called, Expedition 33 or something? I can't remember.
Yes. When I saw it on the show, I was like really excited. It looks like a Persona, but made by a French team, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. I don't quote me on that, but yeah, it sounds correct.
Yeah. So I'm really hopeful that will live up to the potential that it could be.
Yeah. Future promise, potential. Yeah.
So, what was it so that VJ and RemovableSanity, you both had finished Dark Souls? What about BMG?
No, for Dark Souls, for me, put me off playing Dark Souls games, and I went in with the worst class, and so I kind of didn't realize this. I didn't know it at the time, but I put myself in the worst class, which was the bow and arrow, the archer group, and I seriously struggled to get past, and I think I actually stopped after the gargoyles. So I got to the next stage where you meet the dogs in that little section.
Yeah.
And that's why I stopped, because I couldn't get past it, and I just got to the point where I was so frustrated. And then for me, it was playing a few indie games, Dark Souls, indie game versions of Dark Souls, in terms of their different types, that got me leaning into trying Dark Souls games properly again. So, because I had a really good time with a few indie game Dark Souls games, and I enjoyed them. And then I kind of peaked at probably playing Elden Ring with VJ, which were kind of both. I don't know about you, Eva. Well, I'm seeing the DLC and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm interested, but I'm kind of like, I'm waiting. I'm kind of, I want to. I don't know about you. What do you think, VJ? You thinking about the Elden Ring DLC? You thinking about?
I was initially, but then I've been kind of following a few. Well, not following. I've seen a few reviews and a few takes on it, and
Yep.
I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. If I don't know if that sounds harsh. Luke's probably played it. He could probably give a better opinion on it than me.
It's one of those things. I looked at the DLC, and it does look like they've gone above and beyond. But for me, it's that price tag again. It's like it's almost as if it's like full price again, and and don't get me wrong. What I've seen does say that it does look the DLC is huge, absolutely huge. So maybe it is worth it. I don't know. I'm in the catch-22.
There's some like mixed report is huge, but empty spaces. The bosses are like exceptionally hard, even if you're at level 150 or 200.
Well, again, from what I'm hearing about that, some people and they have nerfed a couple of bosses, but there is a kind of upgrade system in the DLC that you're supposed to find to put you to a much more manageable level. And what I was trying to think is it FedEx who does a lot of the Dark Souls.
Yeah, that extra life. Or
yes. He kind of put it pretty succinctly. It was like the idea, like the first game, is that you're supposed to explore, get yourself leveled up, then go in and do the bosses. He says what people have seem to be doing is that they think they've got an over-leveled character, and that will translate to an over-leveled character into DLC. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's effectively play it as exactly as you would the first game or the main game with the same ethos, which is explore, upgrade, level up, then progress through the bosses. And he seems to think his take was, he says it's brought back that original ethos of when, like, when you first met the Golden Sentinel boss right at the beginning. He says that's it. It's brought that back again. He says it's brought that back of a boss kicking your ass and saying, "You're not ready yet. Go away, come back until you are. Go and explore." He says, yeah, and he says for that to happen in a DLC, he didn't expect it to bring back that original feeling, but they've managed to do it. And that's the crux of the situation. He seems to think that people have just gone in and gone, well, I'm level 200, I can easily whack this boss. It's like, no, that's not how Miyazaki, it's not Miyazaki, is Miyazaki?
Yeah,
Miyazaki, that's not how Miyazaki has intended it. He's intended it to you get like almost the first game experience again, but in a DLC, which is pretty hard to do. So yeah, there seems to be a bit of, and that's where there seems to be the negativity side of things, where people just thought it was.
So I can't remember what level I've at, like close to 180, 190, maybe a little bit higher. So I guess it must be like a new cap almost, right, in terms of getting yourself back to feeling reasonably strong and healthy, right? We're going up against boss, or confident, right? So
well, yeah, he said there's a particular, what's it called, a particular item, and it basically buffs your level. So he went in, I think it was like a 1 level 50.
Is it like those somber smithing stones?
Something like that. But it's like so the way he explained it was like, he said, here's me at 150, and he's like a 700 health and 650 damage. And he said, here's me with 10, I don't know, I'll use the phrase smithing stones. I'm now at 1,000 health and at 1,500 damage. And he says, when you translate that to the boss, that's basically like level 20 or 30.
Yeah, got it.
So you can already see there's a difference in, and he said, that's what it seems to be Miyazaki has gone for. He's gone for, how can I get the same feeling from the main as you did with the main game, from the DLC with the main game? How can I get that?
With the sense that you feel like you're OP at the end of the last game. Now you're starting this game in a different land, but you're nowhere where you need. You're at the base level basically.
Exactly, and the idea is that you need to explore again to and find these things and find these. I can't remember what it's called, but find these effectively these stones to upgrade your character, and in doing so, you'll then be able to go back to the bosses and then, you know, he says that they are challenging. Don't get me wrong. He says they are much more challenging, but the idea was to recreate the original ethos of, holy hell, this is a beautiful world. Holy hell, this is a hard game. Now I understand. I need to explore more before I can kind of, which is hard to recreate from. In terms of, if you think about it, very few DLCs can recreate the original intent of a main game. Normally, it's just hiss about 6 or 7 bad bosses that you got to try and they're much more harder. So trying to recreate that original intent, that's a challenge in itself. And I kudos for him to try and do that, because not many people would go out their way to try and do that.
Well, no, I mean, most DLC. Well, I don't know about most DLC, but most like sequels to video games, you know, they find a way to tell the story where you've had your power stripped and you've got to go back out in the world and recoup everything you've lost, and so that you're ready to play the game again.
That's a sequel, not a DLC.
Yeah,
isn't it? So to do effectively try and recreate that in a DLC, you know, it's and so this is how he's kind of played that, and that's how it's described.
Is it something you will go back to if even at $40, or will you? Well, if the price drops, which is very rare for their From Software games, or
this is the catch-22. I mean, because now with that understanding, I'm more interested in it. My worry was it was just going to be, it's just an extra big bosses that are really hard and you have to pay full price. Now seeing that you have to kind of re-experience it again, that kind of makes me more intrigued about it now. So I don't know, but then again, it's the same thing as I've also seen some people say, well, it's an open world, it's barely populated. But then again, is that the same as what Elden Ring was? It was barely. It wasn't, was it? Is it just they've missed out the mob of characters? Or because I remember in Elden Ring, you'd see characters just moving from one area to another. You know, you see a little swarm of characters, and
I enjoyed the first Elden Ring. There's for me, you know, I really enjoyed it. For me, it was just more of a case of, I really enjoyed Elden Ring. I put a good couple of 100 hours in, probably more. I can't remember how long. And like, I've got other stuff I really wanted to play, and I've still got a couple of things I want to go at. And now Meisuko's got me excited, well, kind of intrigued again about Yakuza Like a Dragon, which has been on sale, I think, a couple of times. And I'm just, I think it might be something, you know, when I want to play something from software and there isn't something about, then it might be something I go back.
That's where I'm leaning to. Yeah, I'm very much the same. It's something I might want, because it was either in my head, it was like, do you know how bad it got? Is either this or Sekiro. And I was like, I know Sekiro, I'm not going to be any good at all. But I was intrigued about playing something, another From Software game as Dark Souls. I was like, But, you know, my worry was that the DLC would be just like extra bad bosses. But now that it's more intriguing, I'm like, actually, you're right. Maybe if I want to play, you know, when I try and get back into that sort of frame, maybe the DLC when a bit later on, when maybe it's dropped down or it's on sale, maybe, you know.
Well, how about when make a plan to play it when stubz is finished Elden Ring?
That will never happen. I mean, my brother's playing it at the minute. He's really liking it. He is.
It's a good game. It's a good game. Very well made.
But by looks of it, in the chat, Scott and Luke's been saying that he originally stopped playing it, but he started to play it now, and he got about 32 hours in and stopped, but now he's been playing it again and he's been loving it. He's at about 43 hours in, and he's looking at getting the he'll be looking at getting the DLC as well after. He will be, but he says he's got the mod though that helps him get to 120 frames per second. BC Master Race.
120th level.
BMG says there's a Capcom event at 11 p.m. tonight.
Capcom Next.
What are they showing, BMG?
UK time. That is.
Well, VGC, they just posted. Give me 2
Will it be
seconds.
lots of horror stuff that'll make you cower behind your sofa?
More than likely.
They'll love that.
Capcom Digital Showcase featuring news on Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, Kanitsu Gambi, Path of the Goddess, and Resident Evil 7 for mobile. Live at 11. Well, it says 11 p.m. GMT, but I think they were meant to put.
They meant BST, Alpha.
Did anyone see the Capcom? Is it Asia? Did a oh my god, I'm thinking about it. It was it's one of the dinosaurs. Oh, my brain's going. Someone help me. It's
look.
They put.
I've just said that.
It was Dino Crisis. They put the Dino Crisis picture on their main Twitter profile, Twitter feed. Now they were just saying, "Oh, look, it's been so many years," but it's like they haven't done that often. So it's like, is that a hint that they may be, because people have been asking for a remake for Dino Crisis for years, and I tell you what, if they said they're going to do a Dino Crisis remaster or remake, I'd be up for it. That's a game I want to play again. It was superb. Yeah.
Here's one for you, Removable and VJ. George R.R. Martin appears to have teased an Elden Ring movie or TV adaptation in his latest blog.
Wow.
No.
Why is that?
No. Even written by George R.R. Martin.
No.
Oh.
Explain.
No. Because I've seen some of his last works.
Careful.
And they're becoming a little tamer. Now, if it was down from his original, okay, let's go from his. Let's go for the original works. I'm trying to think of the series now that was on TV that was really good.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, season 1, season 2, brutality and everything about it, perfect. But as it progressed, it kind of waned drastically, in my opinion. And that seems to be what's happening with other things he's producing. Because I've seen his, he did a horror, where he did a collection of horror. It was, I can't think what it's called, box of horror, box of something. He did a little horror collection of films, and they were tame. Really tame compared to his early works.
Yeah, but was that
so?
My
no, it was him. It was his. J.H. R.J. Martin's. It was. I don't know what it's called. It was. Oh God! It was like a book of chronicles or chronicles of horror or something like that. And it was his own telling, and it was tame. And so originally, if it had been like his first series, I would have said yes, please, guaranteed, because it'll be as brutal. It'll be the ethos of the Elden Ring. But in the last couple of years, he seems to have mellowed on that brutality, on that realistic sort of scenario. And I don't know if maybe it's not him, maybe it's to do with who's paying the bills now. And so he's been a bit more constrained, but it does feel like he is much more constrained in what he is able to produce live. And so that's why I'm going no.
I wanted to finish the books, but it's the Sun, Fire and Ice. He's got 2 books to finish, and he's nowhere near.
And he's getting old now. He's not
getting old. Jesus Christ, he's God, what is he now? He's in his late 80s.
Martin. I thought he was in his 70s.
I thought it looks like he's,
I think he looks older than he is, but yeah, I think he's in his. I could be wrong, but no, I was trying to think. It was his Book of Horrors or Trinkets. It was his last thing that he did, and it was tame compared to what the very first, I don't know, the very first few series that he was doing. So for me, go on.
I was going to say to BMG, if he's having any problems writing, all he needs to do, BMG, is bring Jim Ryan on board. I'll help him finish it off.
I tell you, Jim Ryan, whatever he touches turns to magic. Whatever he touches. Look at where PlayStation's gone now. He's left. Right. I've been sending letters to his home address on a weekly basis. He hasn't replied yet, but I think he's just too emotional still with his retirement at PlayStation. But he'll reply one day. I would go round, but the restraining order's still in place for another 6 months.
It's true. That's true.
Sorry, Moo, I had to throw in a joke. It was all getting a bit too serious for me.
I know. No, we have to. No, in terms of me, I'm just I saw the same tweet and I was like, do you know what? I think there are some things that should just be left alone. Let the imagination, let the original ethos be kept as it is. The same with some films. There are some films that just don't need to be remastered or remade.
Well, like Highlander.
Leave them in the time zone and the ethos that they were built. Look upon them with nostalgia. Leave them where they are. If you want to do something, maybe, I don't know, do like they did with Aliens, the 4K version, where they do minor graphical touches, but they leave the ethos as what it is. That's about as far. I think that we're getting to the point now where it feels like we're just getting lazy. So let's just remaster old IPs again and again and again till it dilutes it to the point where it's
I hope you're not having a stab at the new Superman film that's currently filming, James Gunn's, which looks awesome. The suit looks awesome, by the way.
The suit looks awesome. I'm not, and this is someone who didn't think Henry Cavill was a good Superman. I don't think I like the new one either.
No, see, this is where Jim Ryan comes in. Jim Ryan would make a perfect Superman.
Yeah. Apparently, Luke's in the chat saying George didn't write the latest seasons, though it was the showrunners. Up to about season 5 or 6 of Game of Thrones was based quite significantly on the books. The books then stopped there. Seasons 7 and 8 were written independent of him, aside from very broad outlines. Also, George didn't write the game. He helped with the lore only. I knew Luke would be in there with his correcting, if anything was...
No. It makes sense, but there's still. I said is his last one the way he did, which was I think it was about his Trinket of Horrors or something like that, which he did direct, was tame.
Actually,
and again, this is wondering where I'm thinking with just like some of the maybe the people he's working with, they're constraining him maybe in terms of what they're allowing.
I was interesting because I'm wondering how the IP split, because I know there was something that said that From Software brought the Elden Ring IP back from Bandai. So do they own the IP in outright, or do they only own the gaming rights and this other?
I think it must be the only film rights. It must be the film rights, because I don't think, I wouldn't have thought they would allow anything other. I can't see Miyazaki going, oh yeah, have the rights of Elden Ring.
I think it's got to be lock, stock and barrel, right?
Not necessarily, no.
No, not necessarily. But if you were going to own an intellectual property, you would want.
I would think of this way. I look at it as Miyazaki's point of view. If he passes on the film rights, he can say, "I've got nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with me." If it goes wrong, if he's got, exactly. If he stop messing around with the game, then it's going to potentially look poorly on him. So it makes, for me, perfect sense to him to say, yeah, you can mess around with the film rights, and then he can it's plausible denial. He'll take the money, and that's it. And it's literally, they've screwed up my design. I mean, what was it? I'm trying to think of. There was another film that was based on the game, and after they did it, the main character said they've ruined it. They said Actually, perfect example: Star Wars. He actually I saw a recent interview with George Lucas where he said he sold the rights because he was getting too old, and he had to accept it was going to deviate from his original ideology and original ethos. He says he knew he wasn't going to be able to do the other films because he was getting too old and he wanted to do other things, and he had to accept that his child was no longer going to be what he wanted it to be. And it was a recent interview he did where he basically says, what has happened now to the Star Wars franchise in terms of the films, he mentioned, he says was beyond what it's not what he had intended at all. And that was simply because in his mind, and he had come to terms with it. He said it felt like he said like he lost his children, but he says he had to do it because otherwise nothing would have happened, and he needed money. He said, look, I had to sell it. I'm getting too old, and I had to sell it, so I have to accept the consequences of it. But he says, yeah, he did feel like his he's lost his children in that regards, but that was a decision he had to make. So it's. This is the thing that slightly worries me when things start to be put live adaptions. I'm trying to think of a live adaptation film that is probably kept to its ethos, and the closest one I can see, and BMG, you'll probably be able to back me up on this, was the latest Dredd film.
Yeah, Dredd with Carl Urban.
Yeah,
it was. That's
probably the closest where they've taken a franchise and they've kept to its ethos. I'm trying to think of another one, and I can't. Not in recent years, of where they've kept to the original ethos of it. And I think Judge Dredd was the.
I think things like this removable, it just comes down to producers looking at low-hanging fruit. The game sold over 20-25 million copies. The DLCs sold 5 million. So it's for like, look, get the rights. Let's make it. If it does well, we'll make another season. If not, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And some people will really enjoy it. Some people will really dislike it. And there'll be many viewers that say, I've never heard of this. But
exactly, Miyazaki, he doesn't have to worry about it. He can devour any. I have no involvement in it. It's someone else's who's messed around with that.
So for me, it's a case of, look, if it comes out and it's good, then and if it deviates, it can still be good even if it deviates from the game. And as I said, there'll be people there'll be no matter what it is, it will divide opinion. But as long as it's got an audience, it will just continue it.
No, I had JJ Martin as a good. To be fair, out of all the directors, he is probably one of the better ones I would want to direct this. It's just that, as I said, in recent things he's done, it just seemed a little bit more constrained than what he was. What I've seen of his works. His early work seems to be a much more, I don't know, brutal, realistic aspirations, which would suit Elden Ring perfectly. Where now they seem to be a bit more timid or toned down, I should say. And again, I don't know if it's just the times we're in, the people he's working with, or maybe he's just getting older. He's getting a bit more, toned down. I don't know. But that's why I'm hesitant now. In some cases, I just think don't mess around with it. But I can understand why it's been done. And that's my thought on it. I could be completely wrong. I know BMG. You said you thought he'd be a perfect director, and originally, I would agree with you, but
who did you say the director was? Was it Jim Ryan again? BMG.
Jim Ryan.
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with Jim.
All right, one thing.
No.
I would say Jim will fix it, but that's got a bad stigma to it, so we won't go with that one.
Any other entries is there any other entries for the competition? Because Back from the Dead currently has got a very good chance of winning his only entry so far.
clearly nobody wants it.
No, obviously not. I'll just wait 10 to the show, but won't be long. But did has anyone got their codes through for Forza 4, Horizon 4? I got a code.
No.
I got a code the other day, and anyone who's a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, Xbox will message you a redemption code through to give you it because it's been
Not correct.
Well,
it's to do if you bought a DLC, then they'll redeem you the full game.
Well,
that's what I was told. Not the fact if you haven't paid for it ever,
well,
even with Game Pass.
All right, any Game Pass subscriber who has purchased DLC, will still be able to play it. Those who still have an active or full paid Game Pass subscription will get a game token in the coming days sent. I didn't buy any DLC for Forza, and I got it. I got a message off Xbox saying, "Here you go."
I've never played it.
I think Jim Ryan probably sent you that.
This probably was him.
Yeah,
I thought it was if you bought with a deal. If you bought, say you didn't have the game, you played it on Game Pass, but you bought a bit of DLC for that game, then they gave you the full game.
I don't remember buying it. I don't remember buying anything for Forza.
Did you buy DLC though? Any DLC for it?
No, it was just Starfield. I bought stuff for, then didn't play it. But I'm going back to it. I did like it last time I played it. No, it's being delisted. No, it's the last one. It's being delisted. This is music rights, basically. To do with music, it will be. Not wanting to relicense all the music again.
What that does kind of bring up a question for me is that does slightly worry me. Is this something that's going to become more and more prominent?
They do it all the time, though. They do it with motorsport. They do it with all of them. It's nothing new.
Yeah, but I'm saying it seems to be becoming more and more prominent, and I'm just wondering if delisting games is going to become more prominent because of such things such as voice work or soundtracks. So the question, I suppose, is to the panel is, is going to be the new norm for digital only purchases? Because remember, it won't affect your physical. This will be the new norm for digital only purchases.
Well, it won't affect you. It won't affect you at all because if you own it and you've got it, you can still play it, no problem. It's stopping people buying it new on the store.
It would affect you physical though, because probably I think 360, PlayStation 3, but a chunk of Xbox One games and pretty much every game on the newer generation consoles, the disc is literally. There's nothing on it but the key, so you then download it.
No, it's been disproven. That's actually, you get your 1.0 game. Anything after that is then things. You do actually get your 1.0 game. It's still because who was it? It was Warrior, I think, and it was Mutkar. They both tested it, and I think it's about 85% to 90% of games, even now, will have your 1.0 batch on the disc, and then it taps in to the updates for anything other than that. And that's for 80 to 90% of your games, your actual physical games. There is some games, the odd game that is fully digital, which you rightly said, but they did do a test. So currently, at least it hasn't changed yet. But majority of the games, there is the 1.0 encoded on the CD, so you'll still be able to play it offline without ever having to kind of go online to do anything.
It's one of them. I'm probably in the minority, but usually once I played a game, completed it, I'm done with it. I don't go back to it. I move on to the next thing because there's just so many new games coming out constantly. Newer, bigger titles. For me, it's whether, right, okay, that game's been delisted. Was I ever actually going to play it? Would I have ever actually gone back to it when there's like 3 newer versions of that game out? No. Or, the newer game's out. Why would I go and play the older one that's graphically and performance-wise less than the newer one? It's like, I don't.
I think you've got.
Personally.
Well, you're much more, as you just said, you're much more of a subscription-based person. You know, you've rented the game, and if it goes, it goes. You know, it doesn't matter because you've got a new selection of renting games to play, isn't it, sort of thing? Versus, I would say, those who kind of just want to hold those games, collect them, pass them to their children or friends later on. It's two different types of people, isn't it? I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, as you said,
yeah.
you're more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, we grew up. You know, let's face it. A lot of us grew up. The first early subscription service was Blockbuster. Let's face it. We'd go in, you'd play the game for a week, complete it within a week, and find a new one, and you didn't own it. You know, so it's not as if it's like it's not been done previously, and there aren't people who did that. Because I knew many people who were like, "Oh yeah, I registered the game for a week. It came, you know, it got, it released that week. They rent it, complete it within the first week, put it back, never paid it for any more, and then do the same thing for a second game. And they never buy it. They'd never buy it. That's how they did it. So it's. I'm just saying. So there is a. There has always been a rent versus purchase split within the gaming community, which that's perfect for everyone. It's more of a case of, I suspect it's more of a case of those who feel like they want to own what they purchase, how that is going to affect it. And because of that, you know, because we're starting to see now, and I don't know if this is true, again, this could be a rumor, BMG, you might be able to, they were going to do, like, was it a digital only Xbox Series X Pro or something like that?
There's an Xbox Series X comes out later.
Is it 2 terabyte? Isn't it? Yeah, isn't it
digital only? Yeah, and there's the rumors of the next Xbox rumored, no confirmed, not much information out there that's going to be digital only, which we are heading more and more that way. It's like music. How many people now really go and buy a music CD from HMV? HMV's shut down and gone bankrupt and come back again because someone's bought them and decided to bring it back. And then it's gone again. Game are fighting off rumours because obviously their stock is another part of the Fraser Group. You know, part of their stock tanked because it came out that it was reported that they're doing away with hardware and physical games. Yeah. They've come out and refuted it and said no, that's not happening. But there's no smoke without fire.
No, I think you only have to look to Jim Ryan, right? I mean, when he was about, what was those financial results? That 70% of all first party titles are sold digitally,
and they're making more money that way because they're cutting out the middleman. It's all about making more profit. If it came to it, I'm not saying this is the way it's going, but if there's a chance where if the game is just released digitally, they're cutting out the hardware costs of the case, the cover, the disc, the printed disc, the getting someone to make all these in these factories, and it stops game prices going up significantly, then I know it wouldn't. I'm just saying, but I'll be all for it. I'm literally, I've got a game, I play it, I buy everything's digital. I don't own a single physical game. Once I played the game, I'm done with it. It's very unlikely I'd go back to it. Game preservation, for me personally, it just makes no odds and doesn't bother me. Game goes, it goes, it stays. Because I'm always wanting to move on to the next thing. My games like Destiny, obviously, I have a lot of time and money invested in it because it's a live service game.
But what would you say if that got completely wiped?
I'd be fuming because of the investment. But if they're then going to offer me the next thing, I'd then put my investment in the next thing because it's progressed onto the next thing. If it just stopped tomorrow and that was it for good, of course I wouldn't be happy. There's nothing I could do about it, whether I had a disc or not.
I can completely see BMG's perspective, and I know a lot of gamers that have that mindset, and I'm kind of 50-50, but like Destiny 2, I mean, okay, everyone's got an exception to the rule, but and then there's obviously your side to Removable, you're thinking along a different track in terms of, look, you know, I want to preserve these games. I want to be able to pass them on to my kids and perhaps onto my grandkids, etc. and that's fine as well. But the more and more, not even just in video games, but just the way I see people, the way they go through clothes, the way they go through material items in generally, is very much educated now by society and the countries that they live in. It's all very consumable based or consumer based. Is consumption based. Consumption based is probably the right word. But obviously, there will be exceptions to the rule. But there's so much other content out there. You're sort of fuming perhaps for a few hours, or do a podcast or two, and then like BMG says, you'll be on to the next thing.
I think for me, well, it all depends on your ethos. See, for me, I still go back to a lot of my physical old games. I still go back to Mad Max, on the physical disc. Yes, I know you can actually play it digitally, but I still go back to some of these older games and play them. And even to my original Sega Mega Drive games, I still go back and play them. I still kind of go back to those original ethos. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think there is both, and I think you're right. Maybe I'm just going to be one of these dying breeds that, say, 10 years time, when it's completely digital and there's nothing else for me to do, it'll be.
I'll tell you what. There's a scene in the Back to the Future 2 movie when he travels into the future and he goes into the cafe. And there's these two kids standing next to, I can't remember what the game is called, and Marty McFly or what's his name, Michael J. Fox, he picks up the gun, and then he gets a perfect score by shooting everything on the screen. He looks at the kids as if he's like super cool and everything. And the kids say, "You have to use your hands." It's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
I don't know if you remember the scene, you guys, but it's like that's kind of where we're getting to, right?
I just the thing that really, I suppose, maybe that worries me the most, and maybe this is probably where my mindset is that I'm never comfortable signing up for a service that at any point can take something away from me.
Yeah, but you're agreeing to that. Even buying a game, you're agreeing to you're renting a license. You don't own
with the physical
game. You own
copy,
a physical disc, but you don't own the game. You don't own any right to the game.
They can't take it from me, can they? Well, the thing with the physical disc, they can't delete it. They can't delete it from my system.
No, but that's what you're agreeing to. At some point it states it in that terms and conditions right at the start. They have the right to take it and pull it at any time. And you're even not buying the game, you're agreeing to it.
BMG, it's funny you should say that because, and I'm probably going back a couple of decades here, but when I used to buy games, and obviously at those days you'd get an instruction manual, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Then you read the small print, right? The game's only got a 90-day warranty. And I, on occasion, would have a game on a cartridge that after the 90-day warranty would stop working, and there was no recourse for me at all.
Whatsoever. Obsolescence. Yeah, it's a built-in obsolescence with most things these days. Yeah.
No, but so even if you buy it physically and you own it, if it's past its 90-day warranty and it doesn't work, you're knackered, regardless of whether you own the content or not. So it's like, I know what you mean. I want to, if I buy it,
the best way I could describe it is like, for instance, you buy a car, and they say, yeah, okay, you can have the car, and then also it's saying you could go in and go, actually, no, we're taking away the wheels now. What? No, we're taking the wheels away now. Why? I was like, no. We have that option. We have the option at any time we want. We can take the wheels away.
But if it says that in the small print and you sign it, then yeah, of course they can.
Yeah, but the other way removable. BMG. The other way you could say it removable is that, oh look, one of my wheels is gone. Can you replace it? Sorry, we don't make those wheels no more. No one does. You're just gonna have to buy a new one, a new model.
Yeah,
scrap it.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, they kind of do that anyway, because you look at the for instance, perfect example
is going to do me. That's how Jim Ryan rolls.
Well, you look at cars' light bulbs; they used to be replaceable, and now then you have to take that whole bloody chunk of the wing, don't you, to try and get to the light bulb and change the whole thing. So yes, there is always more and more things I'm finding is built-in obsolescence. There is a much more built-in obsolescence, and we are becoming we're becoming that way inclined. And I'm supposing, as again, the game preservation side of things, I'm trying to hold on to as long as I can. This is the old grumpy man in me, to hold on as long as I can to all the items I physically own. I mean, I'm looking right now. I've got DVDs and Blu-rays sitting in front of me, and some exactly. BMG is going, my God, why would you do that? On the other side,
stream.
I do.
I know many people. I know many people that own wall-to-wall DVDs, CDs, vinyl. I know people. So you're not the only one. It's just that what I was trying to say is that I can see your perspective completely, because I was like you until I moved to the States, and I completely see BMG's perspective because I'm like that in some aspects of the stuff that I own. So for me, it's just a case. I'm like in the middle, but I completely see both perspectives, and there's value to both, but there's inherent value to a way of thinking in terms of how do you pass on the lessons of, to your kids in the future, not just by passing them on the content, but in terms of there was ways of thinking and approaching the world in the ways that you were in the past. Don't get caught up in that. Don't just go out and live a life of renting a property when there is a way of actually owning it, right? Sort of thing. Because I'm looking at here in the US, like hardly anyone, well, in California at the moment, well, for several years, they don't buy. Everybody thinks it's okay to rent. They don't think about what happens to them when they're 60, 70, 80, when the state's got no money to give you for a pension and you don't own your property. What's going to happen to you? They don't think that far.
Even owning property now, it's like in the UK, you can own a property whether you pay the mortgage you've paid off the mortgage or not, and actually own your own home and your own bit of land, and the government can just take it anyway. They can just force a sale, take it.
That's true. Yeah, they can, but they have to give you a fair price at the end of it. There is still at least some legal recourse to that regards.
You look at the HS2 line that went through, and all them people that got paid. I think it was a quarter. Was it just over a quarter? I think, or just over a quarter, under half. Yeah, it wasn't just fair.
No, it wasn't fair. But did you notice that there was recourse?
I think they tried to fight it, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but they still out the cancelled the line, and them houses.
Is that something recent, BMG? Is that something recent?
No, it was a few years ago now. They've cancelled it.
All them houses are empty.
Yeah,
one of my mates is looking after the pest control on them houses.
Yeah, they forced the sale of the houses. They didn't have a choice. They took it because they were building the HS2 line through to the north, and then good old Rishi scrapped it for whatever reason, whatever excuse he came up with.
It was cost because the legal fees was, if I remember correctly, the legal fees was trebling, and it soon became clear for them to kind of. What was it? I'm sure someone again. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure someone said it was a get out clause. It was easier to pay the people off because they were fighting back, and cheaper than to actually go through with it, because what the people who were doing it were saying was it was penalty clauses. The penalty clauses for not hitting it on program were so astronomical, it was just easier to scrap it. And it was because the contractors were put in very cleverly, knew that they were they were forcing things through which they knew would challenge. So they basically was like, how can we get more money out of the government? We'll put in these stupid penalty clauses. So when the people, as they write, it's like, you'll give me bugger all for my land and bugger all for my house. I'm going to fight you. They knew they were in a win-win situation. That's what the contractors thought. And so basically, Richie just like, no, screw it. We'll stop it then. And it kind of cut off the. I'm not saying they were all greedy, but it did cut off a lot of the greedy contractors who were just basically putting stupid penalty clauses because they knew what was going to happen. That's why they went along with it. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to give you a quarter. And if it goes to court, great. It still means we get paid. Doesn't matter. It was a win-win situation for them. So I think trust me, I'm not a fan of the Tory government or anything, but in this instance, it was like, you pay a huge, huge amount to the greedy contractors, or you just cancel it.
I was actually for it.
He went for the cheaper. Yeah, he went for the cheaper option of just cancelling it.
I think it was the biggest waste in modern British history. HS2
Trust me,
project.
no, there isn't. There's bigger wastage than that. Do you know what that PPE?
Yes, true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
Huge.
Let's dive away from politics, though.
Sorry, I just wanted to just mention to BMG that the facial capture for the Indiana Jones game, they actually brought in Jim Ryan. Just so you know.
Yeah. Look, I thought that. I saw like the bone structure. I was like, that looks like Jim. That's what That's why I probably buy this.
You think it's based on Indiana Jones? Is based on the Jim Ryan facial?
I think it is. I bet there's a book out there that's never been released, written by Jim Ryan, about Jim Ryan being an archaeologist.
To be fair though, that would actually be a good read. He's been at PlayStation a long time. That would be a good story to read or listen to on an audiobook.
He's the biggest loss to PlayStation, and they're going to feel it. They're going to feel it now he's gone. But at least he got that Black Myth Wukong game exclusive before set deal in motion before he left. That was his going away present.
Has anyone actually found out? Is he moved on to Next? Did he say he's going to like?
He's taking over from Rishi Sunak. Apparently,
I heard it was politics he was going into, or was it foreign policy?
I think he's retired. I think he'll be fine. He's probably retired. I think he won't need to work again. I think he'll be all right.
I'll check my cameras I've got on his house. I don't think he's been home for a bit.
I'll tell you what. If anyone's listening, you can tell that we just really do a broad range of topics. You can't get out. I don't think I've seen any other podcast that will switch from politics, food to railway tracks to Jim Ryan.
He only lives an hour and 45 minutes away from me.
Well, that's what he's telling you. He could be just sitting outside your window watching you right now.
No, don't get me excited.
Holding a squeaky Sonic toy, waiting.
He wouldn't do that. Jim Ryan hates Sonic just as much as I do. A franchise that should be illegal in this country and any country.
He's waiting with Sonic with the squeaky toy. I did hear rumors he was going to be in the fourth. Was it the fourth film? Your favourite Sonic film series.
He's got a cameo in Astrobot as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome! I've got my Jim Ryan trophy on PlayStation Stars, which is still down, and I think PlayStation Network's still down at the moment.
Stubz has got his order.
Is that a DDoS attack? Am I correct in hearing?
I don't know. I haven't. I need to be honest. I've not had a chance.
I'd be very surprised if they managed to pull off a DDoS attack on that scale.
The down network, PlayStation Network's down. PlayStation Stars has been down for a couple of months now.
PlayStation Stars has been closed at the end of this year anyway.
No, it's not.
It is.
You know that Mr. Stubz has got his pre-ordering for a Jim Ryan Funko Pop figure, limited edition.
I like Funko Pops.
I would have it in an instant.
You know what to buy for Christmas now, Mr. Stubz.
That is it. I need an autograph off him, but I can't go near him at the moment. Legal reasons.
I tell you what, honestly, it's nice to have you and you Meisuko on, because we kind of miss these enthusiastic conversations.
We do. We can't get more random than our podcast.
Me, DJ Stubz, we kind of mesh well with each other, but it's nice to bring in the new blood into the mix to kind of liven things up.
Yeah, I definitely challenge the legality on taking someone's underwear off a washing line, because surely it's not legal. If it blows off the washing line out the garden, surely it's anyone's. It
all depends if it's pre-soil.
Well, I can't. I'm not allowed to comment on that for legal reasons.
But I think, where are we now? We're coming up for 11:15. Stubz, are you getting tired, or do you feel you can move forward to another topic? Because we don't want to, push you too hard.
Well, no, I think I need to go, because I'm in charge of the company as of tomorrow for a week, so it's all on me.
You could be sitting in the van just watching cup tea.
Oh, well, I've got to work.
I was going to say that's like trusting a piranha with your middle finger.
Well, I'll make sure there's plenty of Saturday work for myself. Don't worry. Overtime.
So pasty in, sit down, cup of tea,
No,
pasty out.
War season starting, but it's a slow start.
BMG
Just to let you know, back from the dead, I'll DM you the code you've won. No one else enters.
There you go. They can't say nothing about it. It's not as if we blocked anyone.
One-sided competition.
Well, no one else entered.
I think, as I said, I'm sure BMG's silently regretting not. He probably would have been in the chat going, I'll do it. That's why you brought him on. You wanted to make sure, as a panel member, he couldn't enter. Isn't it? Yeah. And that's why. That's why you got him on.
No, Jim Ryan's antics.
No.
I can't even get on his Twitter anymore. I'm blocked.
No, he had Twitter.
You weren't supposed to say "I love you."
Oh, right. There we go. His ultimate was about to end, so it's come in handy.
Oh.
Keeping him busy, keeping him in the goodness of Xbox Game Pass. What else could you say? Eh?
Exactly.
Stubz, we forgot to talk about Still Wakes the Deep.
Yeah, we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's like
I forget on here. We've talked about that much has come up. I get sidetracked, but yeah, you can do.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's so great that there is this kind of Scottish.
The swearing, the language is great.
Yeah,
it really is. I've not got very far, but yeah, it's
Scotland.
It's proper thick Scottish, and it's a lot of swear words. It is.
Yeah. I really like few words that I learned from that game, called lecky, and wee man.
Yeah, wee man. Also, like if you hear a proper Scottish person, a thick Scottish accent, right? So
be careful what you say here, Scott. Be careful what you say here. There's Scottish, and then there's Glaswegian.
I'm Scottish as well.
Do not confuse the two.
Does he sound
I'm
like
not
Frankie
confused.
Boyle?
Thick. What I mean is, the drink Coke, yeah. Well, if you hear them say it, sometimes you think they're saying, like a bottle cork, yeah. But on the bottle of wine, a cork on the bottle of wine. Well, when they say Coke, it sounds like they're saying they want a cork, off a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Very deep, thick accents.
To be honest, you can get that with West Country. You can get that with Welsh, depending on the thickness of the accent.
That's true.
A lot of things can sound very. I mean, if anyone watches, what's it called, Clarkson's Farm.
Oh, I do definitely. Yes.
Look at the country accent of I can't think of his name.
Gerald.
But
did you notice something though? I will say something. I think he puts it on a little bit because did you see the
not necessarily.
No, hear me out for a minute. Have you watched the latest series, all of them?
Most of them.
One?
Well, at the end, I'm not going to ruin what he says, but he makes a speech in the last episode, right at the end. And you can understand every single word he says. You can.
But do you realise that most of the time when they capture him talking is when he's had a couple of.
I don't know how far you in it, but he's doing all right.
He doesn't in his speech. He doesn't kind of, I would say, drink. Yeah. Where generally he's had a couple of drinks, so he kind of becomes more like a slurred speech.
Though. It really is a great program. He signed for another years ago. I reckon they were going to sack Clarkson Amazon, but that was a PR campaign. He signed for 3 more series. Yes.
Oh, yep. Just let's get back to what Meisuko was talking about, which is
BMG.
Windows Central just posted pre-orders for Stalker 2 are already on sale, so you can get might be 2024's best FPS game for a huge discount right now. Wow. So I don't know if anyone's interested in that or looking to buy it, but it's pre-order it now. It does
look good. Yeah, it does look good.
It's got a huge discount, 33% off if you pre-order it now.
Right.
Crazy.
Right, carry on, Meisuko. Sorry, get
Yeah,
getting
I was
derailed.
just thinking
I'm not helping.
yeah, I was just thinking like that game is like pretty amazing. The motion capture, because like as so many games have this kind of stiffness to them characters, but I was really like laughing, like the first scene when they are in the canteen and the workers of the oil rig are like eating there. And I was like just watching them like eating and bobbing their head, and like it looks like so like this kind of casual yet real.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, what I'm not again, I'm going to caveat this. When I saw some of the devs, I think they actually took some people out onto an oil rig and motion captured, or at least motion captured the scene of people eating day to day to get the authenticity of it. And I'm pretty sure, actually, I think there was some people who said, "I work on an oil rig, and this is exactly what it's like." So yeah, they I think they've done sounds like they've done a fantastic job at recapturing the immensity and enormity, and obviously the scale of working out at sea.
Yeah,
Jim Ryan's legacy.
yeah. The details are pretty amazing in that game. Like like we are all old enough to have seen like this kind of materials from the 70s and 60s, and it looks like
whoa.
so.
I'm not that old.
so like authentic looking, like everything is like and that talking is so good in that game, like all the little snippets that they are talking like jousting about different kind of things.
The banter is what you call it.
Banter. Yeah. So it's really like this kind of game that takes you back in time, and like also remember like what has happened like in your childhood, or remember like clearly the kind of like it's not that far away from this moment, but still like so much have changed in that time.
Well, if you think about it, in the last, well, I'll be careful what I say here, because obviously BMG is a bit of a youngster. For some of us, we have seen the rise of the internet, and we were there prior digital, and we were there prior internet. We've come from analog. We saw the rise of analog. We saw the rise of the internet. And how that has changed in under 30 to 40 years, which is quite significant. And things are only, so you can imagine what's happened. Okay, perfect example, mobile phone. How that was tethered to the wall, to being a brick that you carried around with a spare battery the size of a brick, to now be the most powerfulest item in your hand that you pretty much open your eyes to, is the very first thing you see, and is the very last thing you see as you get on. That in itself has just happened in the last 30 years. So you can only imagine what's potentially going to happen in the next 30 odd years. We have witnessed such a complete shift.
I remember the internet coming in. You used to have the wire that ran from the kitchen up the stairs. You had to tuck it under the carpet to the back of the computer. Honestly, it was a nightmare.
56K modem.
That's it. It would take about half an hour to load a 2-minute porn clip, but as soon as someone rang that phone, that was it. You were screwed. It went off.
It's crazy. It's weird that I said some of us we witnessed the birth of the internet, and how it expand. It was weird back then. I remember normally it's a piece of a meme that goes around, but it's actually a bit of history, where it's a person from, I think it's like the 1980s, who said the internet is a bit of a fad. It won't catch on. That's how people saw it back in the days. It was so alien.
It was. They also took the mickey out of a lot of people that were forward thinking. Basically said the internet was going to be where you're going to buy everything, do business, etc. And he laughed at them, saying, "No, it will always be the yellow pages."
Or teletext.
Used to remember loading, you want to ask Jeeves a question.
Oh, so, ask Jeeves,
do your the dial-up tone and it connecting to the internet. That's it. Taking 5 minutes to get on to Ask Jeeves, to ask a pointless question and wait 5 minutes to get an answer. It was like, whoa, this is like the best thing since sliced bread.
I said all the better ones, if you remember back in the old Spectrum days, is where you'd spend 45 minutes typing in a DOS code and you would draw half a circle after about another 45 minutes. And you'd think you was God. I have created half a circle. It's taken me 2 hours.
Or allegedly, going on one of these torrent sites to download a film or a TV show, you'd set it off in the morning, and 3 days later, you'd have your 45-minute TV show episode.
No one would do such a thing like that. Sure.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it's crazy, and this is the perfect segue into why that game kind of works so well, because it's weird because it showcases off things that current generations will have never experienced. We've seen how many times you've seen like the memes of where you put down a dial phone in front of like a 16 and 17-year-old, and they're like, how do you work this thing? And they're struggling to work out how to physically dial with this telephone. So it's a great memory thing at the same time as it is also a great piece of entertainment. And I'd like to see probably more historical sort of games like this, where they go back maybe, because I don't know about you guys, but we see a lot of futuristic games, but we don't really see a lot of retro inspired into retro, in terms of the timeline, like the 1960s, 1950s sort of games. And it would be nice to try and bring some of that in, even if it's just for like a historical purposes, and then just blend in with a horror or an action or something like that into it. I think that's a kind of like a missed opportunity at this stage. And so for seeing this, I'm hoping this kind of resurges developers everywhere to go, do you know what? Yeah, it's okay if we're going in the future and making cyberpunk worlds and all these future things. There's a whole genre that's kind of missed out. You can go backwards as well if you want. And still,
speaking of dial-up phones, remember, like I said, 999 UK emergency number, and it was the longest number to dial. Right from one end to the other, you had to wait for it to slowly go back to do again. Jesus Christ.
Fingering. Phone boxes were actually your closest port of call should you want to get hold of someone, because at the same time, phones in houses didn't exist. So if you wanted to phone someone, you had to race to your nearest phone box to call someone. And if they weren't in, you didn't get hold of them. That was it, That was how you kind of, if you wanted to get the policeman, that was your only choice of call, unless of course he was on the bobby, and then you could actually meet him there and then. But yeah, it was a very different time back then, Christ, I feel
panda cards. Panda cards.
Oh, it was the thing that I kind of, if you wanted to perfectly encapsulate at least my generation, was they had an advert on at about 11 p.m. saying, "Do you know where your kids are?" And that I remember. It's like, do you know where your kids are? It's 11 p.m. They had to put an advert out to tell our parents, to remind our parents that where their kids are at night. Because we'd get in, our going out clothes. It's like, right, don't come back until the lights turn on. And in some cases, we never came back, or they forgot about us.
Oh yeah.
The government had to put an advert out to remind parents, you've got kids, right? They're out there somewhere.
Yeah, but some of the adverts back in the 90s and stuff were, some of them were like quite graphical. I still remember the car hitting the little girl where it does it all backwards. On the road.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? It got banned off TV.
Yeah, I remember that. But it worked.
That's exactly it. I tell you one thing now. You remember that even now. I can guarantee you didn't cross the road without looking, though, did you?
Yeah, well, kids nowadays.
Hang on. That reminds me of the scene in Del Boy where the little boy's sitting there. I've run away. I ran away. You ain't got very far. My mum told me I can't cross the road.
Yeah. And then lay his tyres down on his
van. That's true. Yeah.
But to be fair, there was the one I remember was. Do you remember the? It was the generator where the kid. Well, you didn't see the kid, but this kid climbs over this fence into the electric generator, and then they got this plastic puppet that's on top of the generator being absolutely frazzled.
Oh yeah,
that scared the crap. I tell you what, though, I never went near the bloody things. I never, even with the big electric bolt, I never went near them. And it's a weird one now. I'm starting to find that.
Do a lion.
Whilst it was graphical, I tell you what, it did this job. I'm seeing some of the kids today. They're completely unaware. There seems to be, we can't say anything because it'll scare them. It's like, yeah, that was the idea. Because sometimes kids can be bloody stupid. So you need to make sure they don't do stupid stuff like that. I mean, I didn't realise until I had kids was that no one at primary school teaches your kids, at least here where I am, to look left or right at the road. They don't teach you that.
That's because they write it on the road now. You just better hope you can read.
No, they teach it round there.
If you come to your left, if you come to the yellow, if you come to the path with the yellow lines, they don't teach them to look left or right. They don't teach them to look out for a car. And I'm just like, seriously?
But they do here.
It's only when it gets to, I think it gets to secondary school, then they teach them. But it's like, what about all the previous years when they're like, the years at which point they're potentially going to run out in the middle of the road because they don't know any better? You're not teaching them anything.
Well, it's worse now because now they've changed like the law with the highway code, and pedestrians have the right to cross at junctions, whether you're turning into a junction or pulling out a junction. If someone's there, but obviously they're meant to stop, you stop, they cross, but they don't because obviously the job I do, the amount of people just walk straight out because they know they have the right of way. It's scary because it's like a lot of people still, even though they've increased the points and the fine and everything else of using a mobile phone when driving, because there is no reason to now because you can do everything via voice and hands-free. People still are looking at the phone and the phone in the hand as they're driving, even up to junctions, because they think, it's a quiet road or whatever. And people are just walking out. I think over the last year, if just under a year, I think I've seen 2 people get hit by a car because the person was on the mobile phone and the other person was crossing at a junction without even looking because it's like, I have right away.
Well, I've seen actually in similarity to that, I've seen people, and this is a switch, is where people who've got electric cars and pedestrians are looking at their mobile phones, crossing the road because as they know it's their right of way, they don't hear the electric car and get hit.
Oh yeah,
because the electric car doesn't make a noise. With a car, a diesel engine, you can actually still hear the car.
Well, a lot of the new electric cars, you can actually hear them. You can.
It's still way too silent.
Yeah, still way too silent.
So, because people are now on their phone 24/7, and as you rightly said, BMG, they feel they've got the right of way just to cross when they feel like it.
I don't have that in my area, but you are right.
No, it is. It's law. It's law over the entire country.
Oh, I know it is. I'm just saying that people where I am don't generally do that. But
the only ones you can legally hit, well, legally is in the sense not law legally, as cyclists and people on mobility scooters.
Do you mean like not a main road? Do you mean a junction from a minor road into a major road? Or is it all roads?
It's at any junction. So say you're on a major road turning into a minor road, or a minor road turning into a major. If someone's at that junction, whether you're going to turn left into the minor road, you have to stop and let them cross. Even though if you're holding up traffic and the car behind you's not noticed.
But you're not allowed to wave them through, are you? Either, because it'd be your fault if they get hit then, wouldn't it?
You have to stop because they have the right to cross.
Well, the idea was there was a reasoning behind it. It was there to try and calm traffic. They just didn't account for human stupidity.
Yeah,
that's true.
And the fact that now humans are glued to their phone, and so people will simply walk across a road. And I've seen it even on just a busy junction. They'll walk across the road now with their face locked into a phone conversation, and they don't see what's happening. And I've seen it's more prominent now with electric vehicles because they can't hear it. But I am still seeing people still get even hit with just diesel and petrol cars because they're too busy locked on their phone. They're just like completely unaware of their surroundings.
I was laughing
scary.
in the China on the holiday. There was like, the Chinese traffic is horrible, and like so many people are dying in the traffic like every year. And I was laughing like there was one. I was in the taxi and there was like a guy on motorcycle passing the taxi. And the guy was literally playing like some kind of gacha game on the mobile phone with two hands.
Bloody hell.
Leaning forward.
Wow. Why have I got an image now? Some guy going over a bonnet and then meisuko in the background going, ha ha.
Have you not seen that video on platforms where I don't know if they're Japanese or Chinese, whatever they are, and it's a lorry test. And is it lorry? Yeah. And it's
cyclist, and it's Japanese actually. Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
No,
it's
not a cyclist. It's where he goes, I'll give you one more chance. There's an old man and a young old man, man and a young boy. Which one do you hit first? And she goes, well, the old man here. Like, no, you hit the brakes. He storms off.
I've seen that. I have seen that. Yeah. But you're seeing a lot of people now. I don't know about your area, removable or stubs, but a lot now, especially my area, they're driving in cars, but they've got AirPods in. They've got headphones on, and it's like you're in a car that's got music and Bluetooth. It's like you can't hear a thing that's going on outside.
Well,
the car.
a lot of people use AirPods for their phones, and they speak to them on.
Yeah, but you've got Bluetooth for that.
Most people's cars, older cars like mine, work absolutely shit like that.
You want stupidity? You really want stupidity? I saw this in my local town where there was a guy with those over-the-set headphones on his head, listening to music, but he was also blaring music out of his car at high speaker as well. And I'm just like, what? He's blaring music out of his car, but he's also listening to headphones on at the same time.
I don't actually asking points. I don't actually think you can get points for having AirPods in your ears. I don't think you can. Can you?
I just sorry, Mr. Stubbs. I'm really sorry, but I've got to go. So
I reckon we should round it up now. Anyway, we will.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think 2.5 hours is enough for people to listen to.
Yep.
Right. Thanks for coming on, BMG. It's been good to have you on, and you are right. Throughout the podcast, I've actually been going back into the YouTube description and adding all the crazy stuff we're talking about. 90s TV, dial-up, it's all in there.
Jim Ryan? Have you got
Jim Ryan's actually in there. Yeah. Yes, he's in there too. But thanks.
Order.
But thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it. It's been a while, but I know you've been really busy because I have been asking you every couple of weeks or whatever.
Every 2 years, yeah.
But thanks for coming on. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? I have linked you in the description too, and XPN.
Yeah, like I say, you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Bowman Gamer, Xbox Bowman Gamer, PlayStation Bowman Gamer 86. Usually do a show every Wednesday, 8 p.m. BST for the XBL Party podcast. Ash is away on holiday. I don't know if I'm going to do a show or not this week. Depends if I'm free, but we'll see because Redders has now left us again for the third time. So I've took over like the permissions and that for that side of stuff. So we'll see. But if not, we'll probably be back some point over the summer. We're not quite decided yet. But other than that, if you've got pictures of Jim Ryan you want to send me, my DMs are open. You know, feel free. Any sightings, send me pictures. Feel free. But other than that, that's it.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Thanks for coming on. And I'll let VJ go now. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a really good show. And it was really nice to have BMG and Meisuko on. We should get them on more often.
Yep,
and we had a good show with the Paul AFC as well last week. And glad Removable's back fit and healthy. And so all is well. Really good. Yep. Thanks, Mr. Stubz, again, for inviting me onto the show. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good.
And keep an eye out for the future BMG VJ Only Fools and Horses podcast.
Yes, very true.
We've got a guest. Not sure if he's going to make it, but we have. Well, I might as well spoil it for you. We've asked Jim Ryan to see if he could come on to the first of.
It would be. Well, he can't say no. Surely he can't say no.
Well, I'm not allowed any like voice, physical, or anything contact at the moment. So when that order's up, I'll make a second attempt, third, fourth attempt, fifth. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we could always get in Mark Cerny to step in for Jim.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. He's got creepy eyes. It's the way he looks. I feel like anytime Mark Cerny looks at anyone, he's mentally undressing them.
Yeah.
That's perfect for you. What are you talking about? That should be right up your street.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it wrong to get excited about that? I don't know.
No, he's just got X-ray vision glasses. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Just can't afford the prescription for those. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care.
Yeah,
Take care, Meisuko.
Thanks, VJ. And thanks to Meisuko for coming on.
It was really, really fun to be back here, and it's like I was appreciating you guys remembering me on the podcast, like mentioning me.
I did not know that you were listening. You see.
Yeah.
I was telling people. I didn't.
Otherwise, he would have said nicer things about you.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of good conversation with Luke during the what was this when all the different kind of events was going on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate it, and it's always a lot of good jokes and laughter in this show. So it always leaves you in a good mood. Good mood. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Meisuko. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, on Twitter you can find me meisuko_198. So yeah, and I will be here in the chat or talking with you guys live.
You will indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thanks for coming on, and RemovableSanity, even though half your name's cut off because I just did something for the stream.
It's fine. I'm not really. No one cares about me.
I'll move it back for next week. I made it bigger, so I've got to go back and get the Discord kit and make it smaller. It was for the Hivebuster stream, you see.
Yeah, that's no problem. No, it's fine. Thank you very much for having me on. It's great, obviously, to have BMG and Meisuko on, two fantastic guests who we absolutely enjoy having them on, and they do provide us with such fun and humour and laughs, and it's just great to have those two on again, especially at the same time. It's just brilliant, and hopefully we'll get BMG a little bit more on as well. Meisuko, we know you're going to come on regardless. We know we're going to drag you on, kicking and screaming. obviously it's great to see VJ back again, and same with Stubs. For me, much appreciated for anyone listening. If you do want to hear any of my more thoughts or just my content in general, you can find me on Rumble, YouTube, Xbox, and mine's under the name RemovableSanity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again, as always. And thanks for watching on Rumble, watching after on Rumble, on YouTube after, podcast networks. We're everywhere, just about. And in the coming weeks or so, I've got a partnership with the podcast. I'm not saying much. I've got like a partnership thing going on.
Ooh,
so
interesting.
It's nothing. Is it to do with cookies?
No, it's nothing. It's nothing to do with money. It's just a partnership with a good gaming website that's trying to expand. But yeah, it's been fun. You follow me on @stubz on Rumble, @stubz gaming on Rumble, @stubz gaming on YouTube, @stubz gaming on X, and think that's it. But yeah, thanks everyone, and we will see you next Monday.
Hail Satan!
Yes.